Close your eyes now and let this simple act become the sacred doorway through which everything begins to change. Feel the quiet within you, the weight of your eyelids, the soft rhythm of your breath, the still pulse of your heart. You have not entered a church, nor a hall, nor any place made by man. You have entered the sanctuary of your own imagination, the only temple that has ever truly existed. Here, in this stillness, the living God dwells, not in the sky, not in books, not in distant heavens, but here as your own awareness of being. Take a slow breath in, feel the cool air at the tip of your nose, exhale, and with it, release the noise of the day that has passed. Again, inhale deeply, gently, and know that you are stepping into the inner chamber where all creation begins. For thousands of years, men have searched outward for the source of their power. They have prayed to the stars, to idols, to fate. Yet the truth has never been distant. It has always whispered from within. The power that shapes worlds is imagination. That same power now waits in you, quiet but ready. Ready to call wealth from the unseen into the seen, to draw health, peace, and love into form. You are not weak. You are not separate. You are the very life through which the law moves. Everything begins here, in imagination, not in effort, not in luck, not in what others think or do. Imagination creates reality. This is not philosophy. It is law. And tonight, we work with that law. Now, before we proceed deeper, I ask you to make a declaration, a sacred act that marks the moment you open the gates of receiving. Do not whisper it as a wish, but as a decree spoken from the throne of your own being. Say within yourself, slowly, with feeling, I am ready to receive. Feel how those words move through you. Quiet, steady, full of authority. The instant you speak them in faith, your imagination hears and begins to respond. For imagination is God, and God never fails to hear the word you speak from the heart. But listen closely now, my friend. There is a power in public declaration. When you declare before the universe that you are ready, you do more than speak, you command. So when this experience ends and your eyes open again, I want you to act upon this moment. Do not let it remain silent within you. Declare it to the universe. Go below and write in the comments, I am ready to receive. Write it as a living act of faith. For when you put those words into the world, you send a signal through the great field of consciousness. You are saying to life itself, I am open, I am willing, I am ready. And life, being imagination made visible, will answer. Not someday, not in time, but instantly, in the unseen, where all things begin. Do not underestimate this act. It may seem simple, but every movement of creation begins with a declaration. The written word, the spoken word, the felt word, all are instruments of the same law. So tonight, make it known. Let your words carry through the ether like a bell that cannot be unheard. Write them, speak them, breathe them, and know that the moment you do, you have already received. Now breathe once more. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind grow still. Let your breath move softly like the tide. You are standing before the sacred doorway, the threshold between effort and ease, between asking and receiving. Through that doorway, imagination becomes reality. Say it again, softly, firmly, knowing that you are speaking the truth of being itself. I am ready to receive. In this moment, you have done what few dare to do. You have declared your readiness before the universe. You have aligned yourself with the law of life. The floodgates of abundance are open, and what was once invisible begins to move toward visibility. Remain here now, quiet and aware. This is the beginning, not of striving, but of awakening. Not of asking, but of assuming. You have opened the doorway. You have made the declaration. The law has heard. Now, we begin. Now, let the body rest even deeper. Let the shoulders fall away from the neck. Let the hands become warm and still. Let the breath find its own slow rhythm, like the turning of the earth beneath the stars. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that behind your closed eyes there is a door, an ancient golden door. You do not need to reach for it or force it open. Simply become aware of it. It is the door to the inner world, the kingdom of imagination. As you breathe in, see the faint outline of this door glowing brighter. With every breath, the light becomes more real, more alive, until it feels as though you could reach out and touch it. And now, with the next breath, imagine that the door opens effortlessly. You step through, not with your body, but with your awareness. You are now inside what I call the chamber of wealth. It is vast, silent, and filled with golden light. The air here is rich, gentle, almost alive with possibility. You can feel the hum of abundance moving through the space, like music that has no sound. This is your inner treasury. Everything you have ever desired, every blessing you have ever sought, exists here already in seed form, waiting to be assumed. Do not think of wealth as numbers or coins or paper. Think of it as a feeling, a deep, calm assurance that all your needs are already met, that life flows to you with ease, that you are supported, secure, and free. Now take a slow breath in. As you exhale, let this thought fill your mind completely. I am wealthy. Say it softly within yourself, not as if trying to convince, but as if remembering something ancient and true. Again, breathe in slowly, and as you breathe out, whisper inside, I am wealthy. Feel those words settle in your chest, warm and certain. Do not imagine that wealth will come one day. Imagine that it already is. You already possess it. You are already surrounded by it. You are already the embodiment of it. Look around this chamber in your mind. The walls shimmer like gold, yet they are not made of metal. They are woven of pure light, the substance of imagination itself. Everywhere you look, symbols of abundance shine. Books of wisdom, fruits overflowing from silver bowls, tapestries woven with radiant color. As you walk slowly through this inner treasury, each step you take echoes with quiet assurance. I have, I am, I receive. Now, imagine a small table before you. Upon it lies a single seed. It glows faintly, pulsing with the same rhythm as your heartbeat. This is the seed of wealth, the idea you are now planting in the garden of your imagination. Pick up the seed, feel its warmth, feel its aliveness, and now plant it gently into the soil of your mind. As you do, affirm softly, I am the source of my wealth. My imagination creates all that I need. Breathe deeply. With each breath, see that seed begin to sprout. First a single root, then a stem, then leaves shimmering with golden light. It grows effortlessly because the law of life itself is working through it. This is not daydreaming, this is creation. You are not hoping, you are assuming, you are not wishing, you are knowing. Now let the feeling of being wealthy move beyond words. Feel it in your body, the relaxation of someone who no longer worries, the calm satisfaction of one who knows all is provided for. Feel your breath deepen, your chest open, your heartbeat steady. This is what wealth feels like. Safety, freedom, peace. Rest here for a while, breathing in the light of your chamber. With each inhale, the golden air fills you. With each exhale, you release all ideas of lack or effort. Whisper gently, all that I need is already mine. I live from the end, knowing it is done. I am already the person I once hoped to become. Notice the stillness that follows these words. That stillness is creation taking root. The world outside has not yet changed, but within, the law has been set in motion. In this quiet chamber, there is no time, no delay. Only fulfillment, quiet, radiant, absolute. Stay here, in the wealth of your own being. You need not force belief, simply rest in it. As one rests in a comfortable chair, as one settles into a warm evening after a long day. This is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is living in the end. And when you awaken tomorrow, the outer world will begin to rearrange itself to mirror the inner wealth you have assumed tonight. People, opportunities, and ideas will come, not because you chase them, but because you have become the magnetic center that draws them. Remember, my friend, you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And tonight, in this quiet chamber of light, you are wealth itself. Rest now in that knowing. Let the body grow heavier, the breath softer, the mind quieter. As you drift closer to sleep, keep the rhythm alive within I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. Each repetition plants the seed deeper until it becomes your natural state. The outer world will catch up, as it must, for imagination creates reality. Stay here, breathing in gold, exhaling peace. The chamber of wealth is open, and it is you. Now remain still, but allow your awareness to move. The golden light that filled the chamber of wealth begins to drift and ripple, like sunlight dancing across the surface of calm water. Follow it, let it guide you gently, effortlessly, until you find yourself stepping out into a vast garden, a garden of golden currents. Here, everything breathes. The air itself seems alive, flowing like a river of light. You can see it move, invisible yet undeniable, wrapping around trees, flowers, stones, and pathways. The energy of abundance is not fixed, it is always circulating, always flowing from one form to another. As you walk, notice how the very ground beneath you glows softly, as though the earth itself is whispering, "There is enough, more than enough." The leaves shimmer with quiet joy. The air hums with gentle confidence. Even the silence here feels rich, full, generous. And now, listen closely. I want you to feel this truth, not as an idea, but as a living rhythm moving through you. Wealth is not possession. Wealth is movement. Everything that is alive flows. The breath flows in and out. The blood moves through the body. The tides rise and fall. The sun gives, and the moon receives. So it is with wealth. It is not a pile of gold to be guarded, nor a treasure to be locked away. It is the living motion of life itself, giving and receiving, expanding and returning, never ending, never depleting. Now take a slow breath. Feel that golden current begin to move through you, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. It swirls gently through your chest, through your heart, down your arms, into your hands. As it flows, it brings warmth, ease, and peace. You are not hoarding this light. You are allowing it to move freely. You give it permission to circulate, to create, to multiply. Say softly within yourself, I am part of the flow of abundance. Wealth moves through me with ease. What I give returns to me multiplied. You are no longer the seeker of wealth. You are its vessel. You are the stream through which the golden current of life flows endlessly. Notice how this feels in your body. The lightness, the openness. There is no strain, no fear of losing, no desire to control. Only the natural rhythm of receiving and releasing. Now imagine that in this garden, a warm breeze begins to move. It carries petals of gold through the air, countless tiny symbols of wealth and blessing. They swirl around you like gentle rain, and wherever they touch your skin, they dissolve into warmth and joy. You are being filled, not from the outside, but from the inside out. The garden responds to your awareness. The more you feel at peace, the brighter it glows. The more you rest, the faster it flows. Do you see? Abundance is not something to chase. It is something to allow. It moves toward those who are at rest, who have ceased striving, who have entered the quiet, knowing that they already have. The moment you stop reaching, the current finds you. The moment you stop doubting, it surrounds you. The moment you stop grasping, it begins to pour through you without limit. You are not separate from the flow. You are the flow. There is no shortage, no withholding, no delay. Only the illusion of resistance. And when resistance is gone, everything moves as it was meant to move. What leaves you returns in greater measure, for giving is the proof that you already have. Now say softly, I rest in sufficiency. I live in the rhythm of plenty. I am at peace with the flow of life. Look again at the garden. Everywhere you look, energy moves, from root to leaf, from sky to soil, from you to the world and back again. Nothing is wasted, nothing is lost. You may imagine a stream now winding through the garden, its surface glimmering with liquid gold. Step toward it. As you kneel beside the water, see your reflection. It is calm, radiant, content. Touch the water with your fingertips. Feel its warmth. Not cold like ordinary water, but alive, soft, endlessly giving. As you draw your hand back, notice how droplets cling to your skin, shining like tiny suns. That is what wealth feels like. It lingers, it blesses, it multiplies as you move through the world. Whisper to yourself now, I am one with the living current of wealth. It moves through me in perfect harmony. I no longer chase, I allow. Let the body relax even more deeply now, as though the golden current is rocking you gently to sleep. Let the breath become slower, the mind quieter. You are safe. You are provided for. You are sustained by a source that never runs dry. And as you rest in this garden of golden currents, know this: every thought of peace plants a seed of prosperity. Every feeling of gratitude opens another stream. Every act of trust expands the flow around you. There is nothing to get, only something to remember. You already live in abundance. You are already connected to the endless giving of life. Now rest in that truth. Let it hum quietly beneath your breath. I am abundance. I am the flow. I am enough. Feel the garden fade slowly into the golden light of stillness. The current continues, even as you sleep. The work is done. The seed is planted, and the law will unfold perfectly, in its own time, through its own ways. Rest, my friend, in the rhythm of sufficiency. You are home in the flow of wealth. The golden current carries you forward now, gently, as if the very air itself were guiding your steps. The light begins to soften, deepening into a warm amber glow. You move through the garden until you see a great archway ahead, tall, radiant, carved with symbols that seem both ancient and familiar. As you pass beneath it, you enter a vast chamber, quiet, still, and filled with the feeling of sacred promise. This is the Hall of Agreements. Here, the air feels different, steady, calm, as though the walls themselves are listening. Every sound, every breath, echoes softly with meaning. The floor beneath you gleams like polished stone, and golden dust drifts lazily through the light. Before you stands a great table, not of wood or marble, but of pure light. Upon it rests a single sheet, shimmering faintly. You sense it before you see it, an invisible contract, waiting to be written upon by the hand of consciousness itself. You do not need ink. You do not need paper. You need only intention. In this hall, the agreements you make are not made with men, nor with the world outside, but with the divine law that lives within you, the law of imagination, the law of assumption, the law that never fails. Now listen quietly within. You will hear the words begin to form, as though whispered by the stillness itself. I agree to prosper through peace, not pressure. Let that phrase settle deep inside you. Repeat it softly, slowly, as if sealing it upon your heart. I agree to prosper through peace, not pressure. Again, I agree to prosper through peace, not pressure. Each time you say it, the room grows brighter. The light around the table begins to pulse gently, responding to your awareness. You have signed not with pen, but with consciousness. You see, my friend, every man lives by agreements made in the unseen. Some agree to struggle, and so they do. Some agree to wait, and so they wait. But tonight, you make a new agreement: to prosper through peace, to receive through rest, to succeed through faith. Look around now, and you'll notice the hall has changed. Upon the table, symbols begin to appear, each one glowing softly, each one representing an aspect of abundance. There is a key, old and golden, lying to your left. Pick it up. It feels warm in your hand, perfectly shaped, as though made for you. This key opens doors that once seemed closed, doors of opportunity, creativity, connection. Say quietly, I hold the key to my own prosperity. Now beside the key, a coin rests. It is simple, radiant and heavier than it appears. Yet when you lift it, it feels as light as air. Look closely at it. On one side the words read, "Faith creates." On the other, "It is done." Turn it over slowly in your fingers and affirm, "I spend only faith, and I am paid in full." Next to the coin, a feather lies upon the table, white, soft, impossibly delicate. And yet, when you touch it, it hums with life. This feather represents ease, the effortless motion of life when you let go of strain. Hold it close to your heart and whisper, "I prosper lightly. I move with grace. All things come easily to me." As you place the feather back upon the table, you notice more symbols begin to appear. A scroll, a candle, a cup overflowing with light. Each one holds a message, a truth about the law. The scroll says, "Your word is the seed of creation." The candle whispers, "Every assumption is a flame that lights the way." The cup declares, "You cannot pour from an empty vessel, therefore be filled." You stand before these symbols now, surrounded by golden light, and you realize you have entered not just a hall, but your own inner covenant. You are making peace with the law that governs all creation. You no longer beg for riches, you embody them. You no longer chase after success, you dwell in its certainty. You no longer fight for blessings, you agree to receive them. Now imagine yourself writing once more upon the invisible contract before you. This time, let the words come from deep within. "I agree to live in the rhythm of abundance. I agree to rest in the knowledge that all is provided. I agree to prosper through peace, not pressure." With each sentence, see your name, your consciousness, glowing brighter, carved into the fabric of this radiant law. The contract begins to dissolve into light, sinking into your being. It does not vanish. It becomes you. You have signed it with your awareness, and now it is sealed. You can feel the shift, a deep calmness, a quiet certainty that you no longer need to prove, to force, or to earn. Your only task is to remember who you are. The world will mirror your new agreement in perfect detail. A gentle wind moves through the hall. The symbols rise softly into the air. The key, the coin, the feather, and orbit slowly around you before dissolving into golden sparks that enter your chest, merging with your breath. You carry them now, the key of faith, the coin of assurance, the feather of ease. They will move with you, unseen but unfailing, wherever you go. Now, as you stand in the hall of agreements, feel the stillness settle again. The table fades, the walls soften, the light grows warm and dim. Whisper once more, as a seal upon your soul, "I agree to prosper through peace, not pressure. I am at one with the law of abundance." It is done, and with that, the hall dissolves completely. You are still, calm, filled with quiet certainty. No striving, no waiting, no doubt, only the sweet knowledge that all is unfolding perfectly, because you have agreed that it shall be so. Now rest, my friend, in the peace of your new covenant. You have signed the invisible contract of prosperity, and life itself will honor it. The law never fails. The hall fades behind you now, and what remains is light, vast, living, endless. You are walking through it, though it has no walls and no floor. It feels as if the air itself were made of golden mist, glowing softly, alive with quiet intelligence. Every step you take is soundless. Every breath you draw deepens the light around you. You have entered the treasury of light, the infinite archive of fulfilled desires. Here, nothing is imagined in vain. Every thought clothed in faith, every feeling sustained with love, lives eternally within this treasury. Waiting for the moment you remember, it is yours. Look around you. There are no doors, no locks, no guards. Everything lies open, as though the universe itself trusts you completely. And indeed it does, for you are its creator, and it your reflection. Before you the light begins to gather, shaping itself into forms that shimmer and shift. Some look like objects, books, jewels, scrolls. Others like simple rays of color or notes of music frozen in the air. These are the symbols of provision, ease, and purpose, the manifestations already complete in consciousness. Approach one that calls to you. Perhaps it is a book bound in gold. As you open it, light pours out, not words, but scenes of your own fulfilled desires. You see yourself living in peace, creating freely, giving generously. You see moments of laughter, gratitude, and love. Each image feels more real than memory. It does not belong to the future. It belongs to now. Close the book gently and let it dissolve back into the air. It has already written itself upon your heart. Now another form takes shape before you. A small globe of light, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. When you reach out to touch it, warmth flows through your fingers, spreading through your entire being. It feels like recognition, as though the light were greeting you, saying, "You already are what you seek." Take a slow breath. Let this truth sink deeply. Abundance is not something I gain. It is something I remember. You see, my friend, abundance was never meant to be accumulated. It was meant to circulate, to move as freely as light itself. To try to hoard, it is to darken it, to slow its natural rhythm. But to let it flow, through thought, through giving, through gratitude, is to live in harmony with the law. Everything in creation mirrors this rhythm. The river flows because it gives. The tree thrives because it shares its fruit. The sun shines because it cannot do otherwise. And so it is with you. When you give from fullness, you remain full. When you share from peace, peace multiplies. When you live as though you already have, the world cannot help but reflect it back to you. For the world, my dear friend, is nothing more than your own inner assumption made visible. It is the mirror of your consciousness, the outer film upon which the inner motion of imagination is projected. Change the inner motion, and the reflection must follow. It cannot do otherwise, for it has no life of its own. Now look again around this treasury. The light is shifting, not random, but rhythmic, flowing like a great tide in and out, as though breathing with you. You realize that what you see is not separate from you at all. It is you, your own inner riches, displayed in the language of light. Every fulfilled desire you have ever imagined still lives here. Every prayer already answered, every vision already achieved. They are not waiting to be created, they are waiting to be accepted. Now imagine that before you stands a great basin of light, vast, still, pure. This basin represents your consciousness, and above it, the golden current of abundance continues to pour endlessly. As it fills, it never overflows, because the more it receives, the more it gives. It is perfect balance, circulation without loss, giving without depletion. Let your awareness rest on this truth. To receive is to give is to live. The more I share my light, the brighter it becomes. You are the treasurer of this infinite wealth, not a keeper, but a channel. You are not a beggar before God. You are the consciousness through which God expresses himself. The supply is endless, because the source is infinite, and the source is you. Now let the scene around you brighten. Light rises from the floor like mist, curling around your feet, your hands, your heart. Every breath draws more of it into you. You are not merely walking in light, you are becoming it. Say quietly within yourself, "I am the light through which abundance flows. I am the reflection of divine provision. I live in the rhythm of giving and receiving." Feel how natural that is. Effortless, calm, inevitable. You are not trying to believe it. You are remembering it. This is what you have always been. The old idea of lack, that brittle, fearful thought of not enough, melts here, like shadow under the sun. It cannot exist in the treasury of light. Only the awareness of fullness remains. Now I want you to picture one simple act. Imagine extending your hand and releasing a small orb of this golden light into the vastness around you. It floats away, gentle and bright, and as it moves, the light around you doubles. You give, and instantly you receive. You release, and immediately more returns. This is the rhythm of life, the law in motion. Whisper softly now. I trust the flow. I am never diminished by giving. All that I give returns to me multiplied. And so it is. You have entered the treasury not to take, but to remember that all is already yours. You have touched the infinite archive of fulfillment, and you carry its light within you now. The light begins to soften again, folding gently inward, like the closing of a flower at dusk. It settles around your body in a soft glow, peaceful and complete. You do not need to gather anything. You have received by knowing. You do not need to strive. You have created by assuming. Rest in that awareness, that the world outside is but a mirror. Whatever image you sustain within must appear without. When you know yourself as abundance, life becomes abundant. When you know yourself as light, life shines back at you. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the law answers with certainty. It is done. Now rest. Let the golden air of the treasury flow around you, through you, beyond you. Feel it circulate endlessly, like breath, like love, like life itself. You are not apart from it. You are the center through which it moves. You are the light that gives it form. And so, quietly, calmly, let this truth whisper through you as you drift deeper into peace. I am the treasury of light. I am the source and the receiver. I am the wealth I once sought. All is one, all is well, and it is already done. The treasury of light begins to dim now, not in darkness, but in gentleness, as if the radiance itself were inviting you to go deeper, quieter, further inward. The air grows still again, and in that stillness you sense movement, soft, rhythmic, deliberate. You follow it, and soon you find yourself standing at the entrance of another chamber. Its doorway glows faintly with silver light, like moonlight reflected upon calm water. Above the archway, words are carved in shimmering script, the quiet mint. Step through now. The air inside is cool, serene, filled with the faint scent of warm metal and incense. You hear a gentle hum, steady, slow, eternal, the sound of transformation itself. This is the place where thoughts are forged into form, where beliefs are melted down and recast as truth. Here, imagination is the furnace of creation. All around you, you see floating shapes, not of gold or metal, but of light, luminous discs turning slowly in the air. Each one is a coin of consciousness, glowing softly as it spins. Upon every coin is written a phrase, a truth born of awareness. One drifts toward you now. As it turns, you read the words upon it, already provided. Touch it gently. Feel its warmth. The metal hums like a living thing, and when you hold it to your chest, it begins to melt, not away, but into you. Its light spreads through your body, through your heart, through your mind. This is the alchemy of assumption, the turning of old belief into new creation. Let us begin the minting. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly, evenly. With every breath, imagine a small furnace glowing within your chest, a sacred fire, steady and calm. Into that fire, you will place every belief that once whispered of lack, of struggle, of waiting. Bring to mind one such thought, perhaps, it is hard to prosper, or I must earn every blessing. Hold it gently, without judgment, and drop it into the fire. Watch as it melts instantly, the metal of thought turning liquid, bright, fluid. You feel no pain, only release. From that molten light, a new form begins to take shape. When it cools, you see it clearly. A new coin, radiant and whole, stamped with new words. I prosper through ease. Take this coin in your mind and place it upon the table before you. Now another thought appears, the idea that you are alone, that help must come from outside. Place it too into the fire. See it melt into pure gold, and as it reforms, read the new inscription. I am never alone. I and my Father are one. Each coin carries a new truth, replacing the old. You are recasting your consciousness into wealth, peace, and certainty. Now imagine dozens of these coins forming around you, floating in slow circles, radiant with meaning. Upon them are written truths eternal. All that I need is already within. The source of my supply is my imagination. To feel rich is to be rich. I live from completion, not from need. The quiet mint glows brighter now, alive with the rhythm of creation. Each breath you take is another stroke of the invisible hammer, shaping reality. You are the mint, the minter and the minted, all one. You do not ask for provision. You imprint it. You do not wait for abundance. You declare it already provided. Now let us imprint together. As you breathe in, imagine holding a blank coin of pure light in your hand. As you exhale, press upon it the words, already provided. Do this again. Already provided. With each breath, more coins form, floating gently around you like tiny suns. Each one is a thought perfected, a belief transmuted, a truth embodied. The air vibrates softly now. It feels as though the entire room breathes with you. You are entering a deeper state, the quiet borderland between waking and sleep, where imagination rules without interference. Your body grows heavier. Your mind grows still. You are descending into the theta state, the realm where suggestion becomes creation. From here, words are not merely spoken. They are written directly upon the subconscious mind. So let us begin the affirmations, slowly, rhythmically, in harmony with your breath. I am provided for. I am secure. I am free from all effort. Everything I need flows to me in perfect time. I live in the certainty of fulfillment. Let these words drift through you, not as commands, but as gentle truths already unfolding. Each phrase falls like a coin of light into the vault of your being, and as it lands, it glows softly, sealing itself forever. Now a deeper stillness begins to settle. The furnace cools, but the warmth remains. The minted coins of consciousness begin to orbit slowly around you, forming a halo of golden light. You can feel their presence, calm, steady, radiant. Each one hums with quiet authority. Each one whispers its truth. Already provided, already provided, already provided. Over and over, until the phrase becomes a rhythm in your breath, a pulse in your heart, a certainty in your being. There is no more asking. There is no more doubt. There is only knowing, a knowing so complete that even silence feels full. Now listen carefully to the law in action. The world outside will soon reflect these new imprints. You have minted new realities, and they will appear in perfect sequence, not as miracles, but as the natural order of imagination expressed. Whatever once was lacking must now be supplied, because you have declared it done. Whatever once was distant must now draw near, because you have accepted it as here. The mint grows quieter still, only the hum of creation remains, steady, eternal, gentle as breath. You are surrounded by coins of light, each one a living decree, each one a promise kept. And as you drift closer to sleep, they continue to revolve, their radiance blending with your breath. In this sacred quiet, repeat softly, slowly, already provided, already provided, already provided, until the words dissolve into silence, and silence becomes knowing. Now rest, the mint is complete, the old beliefs are melted away, the new are forged radiant and sure, and the law, the eternal law of consciousness, has received its pattern. It must express, it must manifest, it cannot fail. You have minted your new reality in the quiet of imagination. And so, as you sleep, the world begins to reshape itself, to mirror the truth you now hold, already provided. Rest, my friend, in the peace of that knowing. The work is finished. The law is set in motion, and it is done. The golden light of the mint begins to soften now, folding back into stillness. The air cools, the hum fades, and all that remains is a deep and peaceful silence. You feel yourself being guided gently onward, carried not by effort, but by ease. There is no path before you, only light beneath your feet, each step forming as you take it. And now you arrive at a quiet dwelling. Its door is made of warm wood, its windows glowing faintly from within. You know this place, though you have never seen it before. it is home. This is the house of quiet keys. It is the place within where every door opens easily, where nothing resists and every promise is fulfilled. Push the door open now. It moves effortlessly, as though it has been waiting for you. Inside, the air is soft and still, filled with the fragrance of calm waters and polished brass. A faint light flickers along the walls, reflecting off dozens of small golden keys that hang from silent hooks. Each key shines with quiet purpose, waiting to be claimed. These are not keys to outer places, but to inner states. Each one opens a door in consciousness, a new level of faith, of provision, of peace. Walk slowly among them. You will notice that each key bears a small inscription, a word or phrase glowing faintly in the dim light. One reads, ease; another, faith; another, completion; another, paid in full. Reach out and take the one that draws your attention. Feel its warmth in your palm. It hums softly, as though recognizing you. Now look around the room. On a small table, you see the contracts you once signed, those invisible agreements you made with yourself and with the world. Some are written in old words: effort, delay, uncertainty. They no longer belong to you. Place them gently on the table before you. As you hold the key marked paid in full, touch each page with its tip. The words begin to fade. The paper glows softly, then turns to light. Every obligation dissolves. Every old debt, mental, emotional, spiritual, is cleared. You hear the quiet whisper of completion: it is finished. Now the contracts reform, not as bindings, but as blessings. The words have changed. They now read: all accounts settled, all needs met, all doors open. The transformation is complete. The light grows warmer, and you feel a great calm spreading through you. There is nothing to fix, nothing to chase, nothing to prove. Everything is in perfect order. Walk slowly through the house. The floor beneath your feet feels alive, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. On the walls hang mirrors, but they do not reflect your outer form. They reflect states, moments of trust, moments of surrender, moments of love. Each reflection reminds you: every time you rested in faith, the door opened. Every time you released control, the law worked perfectly. Now take a deep breath. Notice that, in this house, there are no locks. Every door stands ready to open at the lightest touch. The keys you hold are not for unlocking. They are for remembering. Hold the key to your heart and whisper: I open with ease. Nothing resists me. All things are already prepared. You may walk now toward one of the doors. Its handle gleams softly in the half-light. Turn it, the door opens silently, revealing beyond it a gentle glowing water, calm, glass-like, infinite. Step closer. The air is cool, peaceful, timeless. The waters reflect the golden light of the room, shimmering like liquid sunlight. They do not move unless you do. They wait, patient, kind, eternal. This water is your consciousness, clear, limitless, and ready to reflect whatever image you choose to hold. Dip your fingers into it. The ripples move outward in perfect circles, smooth and effortless. Each ripple carries a truth you have accepted. You hear their whispers as they move across the still surface. Paid in full. It is done. I live from the end. All doors are open. Let these words echo softly through the house. The sound is both within you and around you. You can feel it in your breath, your pulse, your being. Now sit by the edge of the water. Set the key down beside you and watch as its reflection in the water multiplies. One key becoming two, two becoming four, until countless reflections shimmer beneath the surface. Every key is a state of consciousness, waiting to be entered. You do not need to find them. They find you the moment you rest in the feeling of completion. You are home now, not in a place, but in a knowing. The knowing that everything you could ever need or desire is already yours in consciousness. Every door is open. Every path is clear. Every question is answered. Now let us begin a quiet rhythm, a long, gentle cadence to guide you deeper into rest. With each phrase, let your body sink further, your mind grow softer, your heart open wider. All things are mine. Every door opens easily. I move through life without resistance. The law works through me perfectly. I am at home in the rhythm of abundance. Every need is already met. I am paid in full. I rest in completion. Repeat them softly, slowly, as though rocking yourself into sleep. Each phrase is a key turning in the lock of consciousness, opening yet another door. I am paid in full. I am paid in full. I am paid in full. Let the words become breath. The breath becomes silence, and the silence become knowing. The calm waters glow faintly now, reflecting the light of your inner being. The house is quiet, utterly still, but alive with the hum of certainty. You can feel it. Every key in this house belongs to you. You are the keeper, the creator, and the door itself. There is nothing more to open, because all has already been opened. There is nothing more to earn, because all has already been given. There is nothing more to wait for, because all is already fulfilled. Rest in this house, your house, the house of quiet keys. Let the air grow softer, the light dimmer, the body heavier. Every breath deepens your peace. Every exhale seals the truth. All is provided. All is done. All is well. And as you drift deeper into rest, the keys shimmer faintly in the background, a soft, golden lullaby of completion. They whisper to you over and over, until the words become dreams. Paid in full, paid in full, paid in full. And in the quiet beyond thought, you feel it. The door of imagination open wide, the world reshaping itself around your certainty. You are home. You are free. And it is done. The tide begins to fade now, leaving behind only stillness, a vast and silent calm, like the hush that falls before a dream begins. You have walked through the chambers of imagination. You have planted seeds, minted truth, signed new agreements, and rested in the flow of abundance. Now it is time to go deeper, beyond words, beyond thought, beyond the surface of awareness. In this next part, we enter the sacred depth, the inner sanctuary, where imagination becomes vision, and vision becomes reality. Here, I will guide you through the deep visualizations, not to create something new, but to remember what has always been yours. Your body may sleep, but your imagination remains awake. This is the holy state, the quiet borderland, where all creation begins. Do not try to see. Simply allow. Do not try to believe. Simply feel. Now, let go. Let every muscle soften. Every thought drift away. Breathe once, slowly. The outer world grows dim, and the inner world brightens. You are entering the deep vision, the heart of imagination, the still point where everything imagined becomes true. Let us begin. I speak to you as one who has walked this inner road and found its doors faithful. I do not ask you to strain, nor to strive, nor to perfect a method. I ask only this: come with me where the world is born, into imagination, the only reality. There, in a chamber that answers to your state and not to your circumstances, we will enter the wealth that has forever been yours. Not the clatter of coins, not the anxieties of counting, but the quiet dominion of the one who knows I am. Picture, if you will, a threshold that does not live in geography, but in awareness. I stand beside you at this threshold, as I have stood beside many, and I say, step over with me. There is no gate to unlatch, only a decision to rest in the end. At the instant you decide, the corridor appears, long, serene, lit from within, as if the stone were remembering sunlight. The floor yields just enough to feel kind, and the walls hold a soft brilliance that needs no lamp. We begin to walk. I do not hurry you. The corridor gathers your attention like good soil gathers a seed. Along its length you notice faint inscriptions, not written with ink, but pressed into the stone by certainty itself. You read them without sound. Assumption, persisted in, hardens into fact. Feeling is the secret. I am already what I desire to be. Each line does not demand memorization, it offers recognition. You nod in that inward way, the soul nods when it hears its own voice returning. At the far end, a door waits, not forbidding, not ornate for its own sake, but beautifully inevitable. Its wood is dark with age, its hinges silent with understanding, and across the center a single sigil, a circle of light enclosing the words, "It is already done." I lay my hand upon the wood as I have done 1,000 times in memory, and the door inclines toward us, not to test us, but to welcome us. It opens as a friend opens inward. We enter the chamber of endless gold. Do not think of vaults, nor of hoards, nor of all the trinkets men fear to lose. This gold is light, intelligent, receptive, obedient to the one law. It does not accumulate as a burden. It circulates as breath circulates, natural as dawn, faithful as tide. The chamber is round, vast, and somehow intimate. Its domed ceiling glows like morning remembered. Its floor shines with a soft radiance that does not glare. Everything within this space seems to be alive with a quiet joy, as though the room has waited for you and is relieved. You have come home. Around the circumference stand 12 pillars, each veined with a warm gleam. At the base of every pillar rests a bowl carved from crystal. Some hold keys, some hold coins of light, some hold folded slips of parchment that hum with completion. In the very center stands a low table of pale stone. Upon it, a ledger without lines, a pen that never runs dry, and a seal that bears the mild authority of truth. Paid in full, I say to you now what I have always said. Your outer accounts, your visible instruments, your apparent channels, all are shadows. The light that casts them is your assumption. The chamber does not grant you wealth. The chamber reveals that you already are the wealth that appears as provision. Here we do not ask, we accept. We do not plead, we assume. We do not wait upon chance, we are the cause. Come with me to the first pillar. Its bowl holds simple keys, warm to the touch, shaped by the hands of natural ease. Each key bears a word. You take one and read its name in the heart rather than the eyes. Readiness. The next, permission. Another, sufficiency. They do not chime like metal, they hum like understanding. Hold one, and watch what it does. It does not unlock a door out there, it unlocks a door in you. And when that inner door opens, outer doors, remember, they have always meant to swing. I ask you to choose a key and place it over your chest, not to perform a ritual, but to allow a fact. The fact is this: you are allowed. The world has not grudgingly decided to admit you. You have decided to admit the world as the obedient echo of your state. The key warms in your palm, and the warmth travels the body's quiet roads until it arrives at that well behind the ribs where certainty lives. There it rests. There it answers. We turn to the second pillar. In its bowl lie coins of light stamped with phrases that are not slogans but states. I lift one and show it to you. Upon its face, already provided. Upon the reverse, always more. Do not fear poetry, the subconscious speaks it fluently. You take a coin, it is gentle with the hand. It is heavier than doubt and lighter than worry. Hold it to the table's seal and watch as the words are impressed deeper, not for the coin's sake, but for your consent. When you release it onto the table, it does not clatter. It settles into place as if the world itself aligned to welcome it. At the third pillar, parchment. Each slip bears a line that your nerves have longed to hear. You lift one, approved and released. Another, received before required. Another, resolved in my favor with grace and perfect timing. These are not letters from other men, not yet. They are instructions to the patterning power that shapes men and their letters. You fan them like cards and smile. Not from performance, but from recognition. You have found the tone. Now the song will find you. Walk with me a slow circle around the chamber. As we move, every step affirms a law, older than every ledger, and stronger than every statistic. I tell you now a scandalous truth, and I tell it without apology. The odds that frighten men are as mist before the sun when beheld from the end. If you assume the end and remain faithful to your assumption, the bridge of incidents will rise beneath your feet, and men will hail it as luck because they did not see the invisible cause. I have seen this, I have lived this. I have led others into this chamber, and watched the outer world bow to the inner decree. It will bow to yours. On the wall hangs a single mirror, neither flattering nor cruel. It does not show your costume. It shows your concept of self. Stand with me before it. Do not correct your posture. Correct your premise. The premise is simple. I am the one to whom wealth naturally returns. Watch the mirror. It does not argue. It reflects. The shoulders settle by themselves. The jaw remembers how to rest. The gaze forgets to plead and remembers to know. You have not commanded the body. You have released the self that the body loves to imitate. Do you hear the chamber? It has a music that does not tax the ear, a choir somewhere behind the walls. Not voices, but outcomes, humming a single word. Done. Round and round that sound goes, and with each revolution it gathers those orphaned fragments of your days, loose ends that once kept you awake, and tucks them into the folder marked completed. You do not chase the folder. You simply stop arguing with the word. Let us take our place at the central table. I invite you to write, not a request, not a plan, but a statement of identity. The ledger is open. The pen waits, balanced and sure. I place the first line for you as I have for myself. Funds land easily before they are needed. Do not test the sentence with your skepticism. Test it with your feeling. Does it loosen what was clenched? Does it lay a calm hand upon the solar plexus? Does it bring the breath of relief that follows payment, even before a single coin is counted? Good. Then, the sentence is true in the only way that matters. Truth in this place does not argue, it arranges. Write the second line. I receive in peace and distribute with joy. Notice how the old fear, that giving will drain, steps quietly out the back door. In this chamber, generosity is not subtraction, it is circulation, and circulation is wealth's favorite proof of life. Now write the third line, not as a hope, not as a future, but as the anchor of your present. I am wealthy now, I tell you by experience. The subconscious hears now. It does not understand the grammar of someday. It shapes the pattern according to the tense. Say now, and you give it a mold. Say will be, and you give it fog. We turn the page. We do not crowd the ledger with many words. A few honest lines weigh more than 1,000 anxious ones. Between the lines stands a seal. Take it. It is heavier than it looks. Press it gently to the margin. It leaves the raised imprint. The body reads, without eyes. It is done, not theatrical, definitive. Now the chamber reveals a device I have loved since I first found it, a soft wheel set into the floor near the table's edge. Its face is marked not with numbers but with states: ease, sufficiency, overflow, stewardship. I place your hand upon its rim, no force, only assent. Let it turn from ease to sufficiency, from sufficiency to overflow, from overflow to stewardship. Here is the secret hidden in that last word. Abundance rests most sweetly in the hands of one who knows what to do without hurry. You are that one. Say it within yourself and notice how the room brightens, not by wattage, but by willingness. Look up. The dome has quiet constellations etched upon its inner curve. As you watch, points of light join themselves in simple figures. One becomes a ledger stamped paid. Another becomes a handshake. Another a door that opens inward. Each figure is an incident along the bridge. You do not design the bridge. You do not design the bridge. You design the end. The bridge is the end's unembarrassed means. We will visit the bowls again with purpose now. At pillar 4, a slip that reads, response received, yes. Pin it lightly to your inner coat. At pillar 5, a coin whose edge reads, before I ask it arrives. Let it rest in the pocket under your heart. At pillar 6, a key named calm timing. Touch it to your temple and place it down. This is not superstition. This is symbolism, and symbolism is the language of the creative depth. Across the chamber, a small alcove holds a chair turned toward a window that overlooks nothing but the inner sky. Sit there with me. The chair has the generous weight of furniture made for permanence. On the low stand beside it lies an envelope thick with good paper. On the flap, a wax seal imprinted with a palm. Yours, open, honest, unafraid. Break it. Inside is a single sheet. It does not promise. It confirms. It says in the hand, you will one day recognize in an outer letter. We are pleased to inform you that your account reflects the recent credit. Thank you. Do not ask from whom. You are not reading mail. You are accepting pattern. The from whom will obey the pattern when it enters the scene. In a niche nearby, a simple instrument, part compass, part clock, rests under glass. Around its face, a gold ribbon travels, not ticking, not counting down, but flowing in a patient loop. Where the numbers might be, are single words. Enough, enough, enough. Watch how the ribbon continues without interruption. This is the true meter of wealth, not the jagged line of panic, but the untroubled loop of enoughness. Let it set your inner pace. We cross the floor to a quiet press, set into a side table, twin plates that meet with a gentle sigh. A stack of blank cards sits close at hand. You slide the top card into the press, bring the lever down, and lift it again. The card now bears the raised words that settle a matter without noise. Cleared. One by one you set the cards beneath the plates. Approved, released, completed, blessed, and with each impression, the chamber softens in that satisfying way. Rooms soften when a storm chooses a different direction. I turn your attention to the smallest object in all the chamber. A thread of gold lying coiled like a bit of sunlight, resting between errands. Take it between finger and thumb. When you draw its end across the table, letters form along its length, thousands of them, tiny, legible, sure. They do not spell your worry. They spell your assumption. See how the thread writes, I receive while I rest. It is a law stated simply. Stretch the thread across the ledger's edge, and watch as it fuses there, a bookmark that keeps the place of your identity. The chamber stirs, not radically, but decisively. Along the base of the pillars, a low channel begins to glow, and light, liquid, mild, swift, flows through it, circling the room. Where it passes, you feel a slight pressure in the palm, as if it were placing something there you have long been ready to hold. That pressure resolves into impressions, moments the outer world will dress in names and timing. You do not lunge to identify them. You bless them as they take form. Stand again. Walk another circle. This time, I ask you to look not with eyes alone, but with consent. The chamber of endless gold is not about number. It is about nature. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to stop pretending to be other than the bearer of wealth. If an old story rises to protest, not me, not yet, not so, bring it to the press and smelt it into coin. Old beliefs are wonderful ore. They melt quickly and the new stamp holds beautifully. At the far curve of the wall, two doors wait side by side. The first is marked, means, the second is marked, end. In former days you have stood too long before the door of means, pleading with the hinges. Tonight you smile, tip your head as one does to a memory, and pass it by. You take the handle of end. It fits the hand like a custom truth. The door opens, as all doors in this place open, by agreement. Beyond, not another room, but the same chamber again, deeper, nearer, more intimate, as though the room had taken 2 steps toward you while you took 1 toward it. Here the bowls are fewer, the clarity is greater. 1 bowl only, and it holds neither keys nor coins nor slips, but a simple band of gold, not ornate, not heavy, but entirely sure. Inside its circle, an inscription, delicate and unafraid. Thank you. I have taught many techniques, yet I tell you the finest technique is no technique at all. Only thanksgiving that flows from possession. Put the band to your finger. not to bind, but to remember. Gratitude is not a lever by which to move fate, it is the fragrance of a state accepted. When the ring warms, the chamber brightens almost imperceptibly, and something inside says, yes, that is right. That is natural. A second table stands here, narrower, empty, except for a single folded cloth. Unfold it. It is blue, shot through with fine gold, like dusk confessing to dawn. Lay it across your lap, and you will feel what men spend fortunes chasing: naturalness. Wealth that is natural needs no guard. Wealth that is natural does not stutter. It sits, it smiles, it blesses, it remembers others. You have entered that naturalness. Take a moment and recognize yourself. I will tell you now of the law of reversibility, for it is the hinge upon which the chamber swings. If a fact can produce a feeling, then a feeling can produce a fact. Receiving money creates relief. Therefore, relief deeply assumed must produce the fact of receiving. Winning brings laughter. Therefore, laughter, sincerely held, must summon the experience that justifies it. This is not sentiment, it is law. So ask yourself here, within these walls that answer to feeling, what is the signature emotion of the wealth you claim? Choose it. Is it relief? Quiet assurance? Gentle pride? Unhurried joy? Wear it like the blue cloth, without effort, without performance, as you would wear a favorite garment that seems to make all your movements easier. The chamber responds once more. From the dome falls a narrow beam of light, soft, steady, and rests not on the head, but on the chest. It asks nothing. It declares you are. And as it rests, you reread the sentences in the ledger, and this time they read you. The words travel into the fibers, and the body becomes the page. If you wondered how to keep the state, wonder no longer. The state keeps you. Let us gather what we came for. At the first table, lift the seal and press it upon tonight's page one final time. At the bowl of coins, take 3 and slide them into your pocket, knowing they will become moments rather than metal. A message that brings ease, a balance that swells without noise, a meeting that feels like the answer walking toward you. At the keys, choose one more. Welcome, for every door enjoys hearing its own nature announced. Before we depart, look once more into the mirror. It does not show the map of your face. It shows the climate of your soul. The weather has changed. The old wind of panic has fallen still. The air here carries the scent of the word done. Commit this climate to memory, so you may return by feeling rather than by effort. If the day tries to suggest a storm, you will recognize a passing cloud over a permanent summer. Now the chamber, which has been the most attentive of hosts, performs its last courtesy. The walls seem to widen, though they do not move. The floor seems to rise, though it does not tilt. Everything meets you without demand. I have said all my life, when you live in the end, the world rears itself to serve. You need not whip it, you need only bless it. So I ask you to do one quiet thing. Bless your channels, those known, those unknown, those to be born tomorrow. Bless them not as beggar, but as owner. You may bring it this way if you wish. You may bring it that way, if you prefer. I am supplied. You are ready. Do not look back to see whether the chamber will remain. It is eternal. It is as close as consent. When you wish, you return by choosing the feeling and allowing the door to be where you stand. Yet for now, we will honor the ritual of departure. We walk to the doorway that first admitted us. The door does not close behind us. It remains open as the ocean remains open to its rivers. As we pass again along the corridor, those inscriptions that greeted you in the beginning speak more familiarly. Assumption hardens into fact. You have assumed feeling is the secret. You have felt, I am already what I desire to be. You have been. The corridor leads not back into the world. It leads the world into you. The threshold that separates the inner from the outer is thinner than a thought and stronger than a mountain. Cross it and watch the mountain move. Before we part, I give you a simple cadence. No chant, no straining. only the steady footfall of truth that likes to walk with you as you go about your day and as you surrender tonight. I am wealthy now, already provided, always more. I receive while I rest. I prosper through peace, not pressure. Everything that concerns me is resolved in my favor with grace and perfect timing. Thank you. Let these phrases not be shouted into the air, but rested into the bones. Let them announce nothing to the street and everything to the law. If you wake in the night, they will be there without your seeking. If you consider a bill, they will look over your shoulder and smile at the numbers until the numbers remember their master. If an opportunity approaches, they will nod, and the opportunity will nod back. Now hear me, as a friend. As one who has proved this, your demonstration is not somewhere else. It is here, already planted. Do not dig it up to check the roots. Do not beg the soil to hurry. The bridge is building while you set down your head. The channel is clearing while you speak kindly to yourself. The letter is finding its root while you allow thanksgiving to be your natural breath. I leave you at the edge of your own room with the door of the chamber still open, as it always will be. My last word to you in this visualization is the first word of creation. I am. Place what must follow it with dignity. Place wealthy, not as a wish, but as a name you answer to. Place favored, not as a bribe, but as a fact. Place provided for, not as a bargain, but as a birthright. Then do the most powerful act in all the law. Rest. For I tell you, the chamber of endless gold is not elsewhere. It has moved into you. It will hum its gentle word beneath your thoughts. Done. It will keep time with an unhurried loop. Enough. It will press its seal on the small and on the grand until you forget you ever lived otherwise. And those who see you will say, fortunate. You will smile, not to argue, but because you know. It was never fortune, it was law. Go now, as one who has already received, who need not grasp nor explain, who can afford to be quiet, because the answer speaks louder than explanation. Carry the key in your chest, the coin in your pocket, the thread across your page, the band on your finger. Carry the mirror's climate in your step. And if you must speak a single sentence over your day and over your night, let it be the sentence that opens every door we found within. I am wealthy now. I will not take you far, because the place we seek has always lived one decision away. It is not beyond the hills, nor behind other men's permissions. It is just here, the moment you agree to see as cause rather than effect. I have called it many names in my talks. The inner workshop, the kingdom of imagination, the silent country where states are planted and become facts. Tonight, let it appear as a garden, ordered, generous, and already yours. I speak as one who has walked these paths and returned with arms full. Come, walk with me. The gate is simple wrought iron, painted a quiet green, the color of things that intend to live. It stands open, not as invitation only, but as recognition. Your name is not chiseled above it. It is woven through it. As we step across the threshold, the world you know yields its noisy claims, and the inner order takes command, dignified without clamor. Stones set into the earth make a broad path. They are warm with the remembered sun. Between them, small thyme and moss offer their sweetness to your ankles. The path knows where it goes. You do not have to force. You consent, and the path consents to your feet. On either side, beds of soil lie in generous rectangles, edged with low brick. Nothing here is accidental. The beds are fed by channels that wander like quiet silver threads, carrying water wherever attention asks it to go. That is the first lesson of the garden. Attention irrigates. Where you rest it, life steepens. Where you starve it, even good seed grows shy. Tonight, we irrigate wealth, not as anxious hoarding, but as lawful circulation. Wealth here is not a fence. It is a river with manners. The first bed holds low, tidy shrubs covered with small metal tags. Each tag bears a phrase that lives well in the soil of the subconscious. I bend and lift a tag for you to read. Paid in full, another. Funds arrive before they are needed. Another, I am the calm steward of more than enough. These are not advertising slogans. They are labels for living things. Touch a leaf and notice the plant answers to its name. The moment you accept paid in full as your plant, it straightens, its green deepens. The law responds to identification. Say, without show, mine, and the garden murmurs agreement. Ahead, a small tree flexes under the weight of fruit that looks like lanterns, soft gold, translucent, able to hold light without exhausting it. I pluck one and place it in your palm. The skin is warm, the kind of warmth that speaks of readiness. On its peel is a faint embossing, your monogram, not stamped from outside, but grown from within the fruit as it matured. This is the second lesson of the garden. What belongs to you will carry your name, not because you chased it, but because you planted its seed. The fruit does not ask whether you deserve it. It proves that you already decided. We walk past a border of rosemary and sage, old herbs that remember every good outcome you have forgotten. They do not scold, they release their fragrance as proof that memory can be softened into usefulness. Between the herbs, a row of stakes carries a trellis. Vines climb it with confidence, weaving a lattice of yes. Tiny paper slips hang from the vines, pinned by small wooden pegs. Each slip is an agreement you once made in a moment of quiet courage. I prosper through peace, not pressure. I receive while I rest. I am wealthy now. You do not recite them, you read them with your chest. The vines thicken at that reading, the pegs settle deeper into the trellis wood, as if your consent drove them home. On the right, a fountain stands, a wide, shallow bowl set into a low wall of stone. Water rises at the center in a steady, unhurried column, then falls without splash, as though it respects the nerves. Around the rim, instead of numbers, a ring of words repeats. Enough, enough, enough. This is the sundial of sufficiency. It keeps a time that does not rush. When I first discovered this place, I laid my hand upon that word and let it teach my pulse. So, we will do the same. I place your fingers on the smooth rim where enough is etched. You do not command your heart to obey. You let your heart remember the hour it has always preferred. Now we enter an alley of fruit trees. Their trunks are not young, nor are they fragile. They are the age that gardens love most, tested, generous, without drama. Each trunk wears a small brass plate. Opportunity. Fair exchange. Right price. Early payment. Quiet surplus. You slow before the tree called early payment. It is heavy with ripeness, low enough to be polite. I do not ask you to climb. I ask you to recognize. You lift your hand, and the nearest fruit detaches itself as if it were never fixed. When you cup it, you feel a pleasant weight, like a truth that requires nothing of you except acceptance. That is the third lesson of the garden. Readiness is magnetism. A tranquil yes draws harvest without bargaining. In the far bed, a gardener kneels, hat pushed back, hands content with the earth. The gardener is not a person apart from you. The gardener is your imagination, personified to keep you company while you remember your power. He does not look up to perform for us. He continues a simple task, breaking a clod of hardened soil with his fingers until it becomes friable again. He takes something brittle and returns it to hospitality. That is what imagination does with old beliefs. It crushes them gently, not to destroy, but to make them serve anew. We join him at a row labeled assumptions. Seasonal. The stakes mark 4 kinds of weather that every life knows. Seed time, rooting, bloom, harvest. A 5th stake stands at the end, a friendly afterthought, circulation. The gardener sets a seed into your palm. It looks ordinary, like a pebble that learned how to become useful. Upon its surface is the smallest inscription, so small you might miss it if you were hurried. I am wealthy now. We do not bury this with a speech. We set it into a prepared hollow. We brush the soil back. We pat it once, lightly, in that ancient gesture that says to the earth, I trust you. This is the 4th lesson. Planted states do not need interrogation. They need agreement. We move to the irrigation channel, just beside the row. I tilt a small gate and the water answers. It travels, shining, in a line as slender as a sentence. You will remember all night, already provided. The water finds the seed and lingers there, as if reading the inscription by touch. The gardener nods, and I hear what he never needs to say aloud. You have formed the end, the means now form themselves. We do not speculate whether tomorrow's weather will be fair. The garden is equipped for weather. Your state is equipped for circumstance. There is nothing to adjust but your remembering. Across a small lawn, a glass house rises, ribbed with clean frames, the panes bright but not glaring. This is the house of timing. Inside, benches hold tender, starts that will not be hurried and do not need to be. Each pot is tagged, not with dates, but with conditions. When it blesses most, when the road is already built, when your rest is complete. These conditions are not delays, they are kindness. I show you a seedling with leaves like miniature coins. The tag reads, "Credit that clears while you sleep." You smile because you recognize its scent, even though you have not had it in this exact form before. The body knows good news before the envelope arrives. We pass a rack holding tools. There are only three: a trowel called assume, a rake called revise, and shears called release. The trowel is used to set your state in place. The rake smooths the surface after an unwanted footprint. The shears cut away whatever has finished its duty, worry that has dried into a rattling husk, stories that once kept you safe and now keep you small. I lift the shears and snip a brittle stalk labeled proof, then rest. It falls without protest. In its place, a green stem that had been straining in shadow takes light and expands, as if it has been waiting for this exact sound. That is the fifth lesson. Cutting is not loss. When the cut is guided by truth, circulation requires outflow as surely as it delights in inflow. At the far edge of the garden, a low wall runs, warm stone mortared by patience. Beyond it, the ordinary world continues. Streets, errands, spectacles that try to claim center. From here they look like what they are: a play. In the wall is a small shelf of cubbies. Each cubby holds envelopes, some thick with contentment, some light as though they contain only air and stillness. You slide your finger under the flap of one. Inside, a single card with a single sentence pressed in raised letters. Everything that concerns me is resolved in my favor with grace and perfect timing. You do not put this card on your tongue like a charm. You put it in your pocket, where your hand will find it later. And remember, without fanfare, the garden likes quiet pockets. Quiet pockets spend well. We turn into a shaded walk. Overhead, branches meet and interweave, a green nave that filters the world into soft emphasis. On the left, arches of espaliered pear shape themselves along a brick wall, each limb trained not by force, but by early choices repeated kindly. The fruit blushes pale gold. There is a ribbon threaded through the branches, blue with a hair-thin gold edge. Along its length are words that seem to have been woven rather than printed. Assumption persisted and hardens into fact. The ribbon does not blow. It rests, and resting broadcasts its certainty across the path the way a bell sends a tone into stone. A bench waits in a clearing, paved with old pavers. In the center of the clearing, a low table holds a ledger bound in linen that remembers hands. This is the garden book. It does not tally sins of omission. It records states claimed and harvests received. I open to a page that already bears your handwriting in a future you have just selected. The page does not start at the top. It starts where you felt something click into place. You read, "Harvest recorded, the letter that made breathing easy again." Harvest recorded, a price that honored both beauty and fairness. Harvest recorded, a timetable that opened like a good door. State confirmed, I am wealthy now. Practice noted, I receive while I rest. Circulation observed, generosity returns with interest in peace. You do not wonder who wrote it. You did. You simply wrote it from the other side of a night that is coming to meet you. bringing what you agreed to feel first. A hush falls, not empty, full. It is the kind of hush that happens when things line up, when picture frames straighten themselves, when a latch finds its strike, when a room inhales its arrangement and approves. In that hush, a small bell rings, not loudly, not even for the ears. The gardener rises and touches his cap to us. He carries a basket, shallow, well used, faithful. From a bed marked quiet surplus, he harvests leaves shaped like coins of light. He does not count. He knows by weight. He places the basket on the table and steps back, not as servant, as host pleased to see a guest recognize his own dining room. Take a leaf of light. It does not require you to sit up straight, nor to make a speech. It dissolves in the hand and travels to the place that wanted placing. Often the solar plexus, sometimes the throat, now and then that small spot between the shoulders where burdens pretend to belong. As the light settles, something that has been braced for too long unbraces. That is the sixth lesson. Wealth first expresses itself as posture. You do not arch to appear tall. You stop curling to appear small. Natural stature returns. And the garden registers this with 1,000 tiny approvals. Petals turn, a shadow sweetens. The air feels like the right temperature. We walk on, and I show you the compost heap. Yes, even sacred places have compost. The heap does not stink, it steams with usefulness. Here we lay the prunings, old fears, tired tactics, inherited cautions that once served you before you learned a kinder law. We lay them without ceremony. The heap does what the heap knows how to do, transforms what looked like failure into food. The exact shapes dissolve, the nutrients return. Your old not yet becomes tomorrow's swift yes. The garden wastes nothing. The law wastes nothing. Beyond the compost stands a narrow gate in the hedge, painted the same quiet green as the first gate. Above it a wooden sign, small and sure. Trade. When you step through, you enter a lane of market stalls. But these are not stalls of the outer town. They are forms your generosity prefers. One stall is labeled timely encouragement, another paid promptly, another introductions that lead to doors, another ties of the heart. You do not calculate percentages. You feel which stall lights at your presence. That is where you give. You leave a leaf of light, and the stall-keeper's eyes brighten with the unforced joy of natural exchange. You receive a token in return, not an obligation, a promise to circulate. The token hums in your pocket and knows the way back to you by routes you cannot diagram. We re-enter the main garden and arrive at a curious object, a framework of brass and wood, the size of a small carriage. Within it, a pair of wheels turn slowly, moved by the weight of water flowing from one copper ladle to the next. A scale sits beneath the wheels, but instead of numbers, it bears 4 words: inflow, outflow, kept, seeded. The water tips and the needle moves with an intelligence that would make an accountant smile. You watch for a while and learn what the garden has tried to show in every bed: balance that breathes, not a cruel ledger, a living one. When inflow rises, outflow learns its proportions. When kept increases, seeded discovers its courage. There is no panic in the needle. It knows its home position, plenty. As we proceed, we come to a door set into a hedge, so glossy it seems varnished by dew. The door bears no lock, only a brass plate warm from invisible sun. The plate carries 5 words that have followed me all through the years. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Lay your hand upon the plate. Do not strain to conjure. Simply allow the feeling that represents your wealth to take the chair in your chest. Is it ease? Is it the quiet pleasure of competence recognized? Is it the settled joy of enough that grows because it is treated well? Choose. Do not argue with your choice. Open the door. You enter a courtyard paved with bricks, darkened by honest use. In the center stands a table of stone on which are arranged several small instruments. One is a stamp that reads, "Cleared." One is a small press for sealing agreements. One is a velvet-lined tray holding keys of warm brass. Keys named welcome, right place, Right people, right price. The courtyard is the place of governance. It is where you bring the forms of your life, contracts, conversations, calendars, and let the state govern them. You do not attempt to wrestle outcomes to the floor. You place them on the stone. You press the seal of your identity. The instrument of the world takes that impression and goes away to do what instruments do. You remain here, tall, by the standard of naturalness, not by comparison. Now I lead you to the farthest corner. Every garden has a far corner, a little secret, not because it hides, but because it wants to be discovered again and again. This corner holds a circular bed bordered by smooth river stones. In the center, a single rose bush, upright, abundant, exactly itself. It is tagged with a word that does not often appear on bank ledgers, and yet accounts for more wealth than many fortunes. Permission. This is the rose that blooms whenever you stop asking other men to convince you that you may have what already bears your name. Permission opens the petals one by one, and each petal is printed with a situation that used to trouble you and now folds itself into beauty. You do not pluck this rose, you inhale its correctness into your behavior. Behind the rose, a small door stands set into a brick outbuilding. Above it, a modest sign, tool shed of imaginal acts. Inside, orderly shelves hold little scenes. They are models, like the models in an architect's office. Each is built to be stepped into at a moment's notice. Here is a model of you returning home with a light stride and placing an envelope on the table with the care one gives to a good loaf of bread. Here is a model of you on a chair that fits your back while you speak a number and both faces around the table soften because it is the right number. Here is a model of you turning a key in a door that was once rumor and is now wood. The shed teaches the seventh lesson. Preparation in imagination is the highest efficiency. The outer world loves to deliver to addresses that have already been furnished within. We step back into the open air. Evening draws near in this place, but evening has no hint of deprivation. It is a second morning. Lights along the paths come alive, small globes on low posts, not to dazzle, to confirm direction. The fountain shines a little more warmly. The gardener has hung a lantern under the fig, where he keeps his ledger and pen. He writes nothing about you that you have not written first. That is the eighth lesson. This garden will not contradict you. If you inscribe late, it will spread a little shade over a bed until you change your mind. If you write on time, a breeze will arrive to move the pollen where it means to go. We return to the first gate by a different path, because gardens prefer variety over habit. Along this path is a hedge of laurel, cut into simple shapes that inspire rather than impress. A key, a door, a boat, a bridge. A bit of ribbon is tied around one branch, the color of the inside of a seashell. When you touch it, a sentence becomes visible along its length, letters blooming like small moths. I am the one to whom wealth naturally returns. Do not try to believe harder. Rest where it is true. The hedge nods, if a hedge can nod, and something nods back in you, the small governor who looks after tone. Near the gate stands a bell mounted on a wooden post. It is not the sort of bell you ring to summon servants. It is the sort of bell a harbor uses to say, the weather is fine, the tide is faithful, the boats may come and go without fear. On the bell, one word raised in relief. Welcome. I lift the rope and let the clapper find the metal. The sound is low, complete, like a good sentence in a language older than worry. The sound informs the edges of your life, that the center has decided. Before we go, I place in your hand a small linen pouch drawn with a cord. Inside are tokens from the stalls of trade, slim discs of wood, with words burned into them. Gratitude circulates, generosity replenishes me. My decisions are blessed. Money enjoys my care. These are not obligations, they are companions. They warm when you forget, and cool when you remember. And both sensations teach the same thing. You may choose the state again at any moment. We stand at the threshold. You look back and see what the garden shows to those who consent to see it. Nothing is lost here, not even your mistakes. Everything you have ever called error has become soil. Every delay has learned which lane to use. Every question that once made you pace now makes a path. The gardener tips his hat again and returns to his gentle task. He breaks another clod. He tucks another seed. He hums a tune the world will later call good timing. The gate remains open. It will always remain open. For what is this garden of wealth but your nature-given form? It will not grow weeds unless you plant them. It will not starve unless you avert your irrigation of attention. It will not boast because it does not need to. It knows, and because it knows, it grows. Walk with me 2 steps more, not out, but through. The street beyond is only the outer edge of your beds. The fountain's hum continues under the cobbles. The sundial of sufficiency keeps its loop under your jacket. The tokens rest against your thigh, with the friendly pressure of truth you can reach for without looking. You do not leave the garden, you carry it. That is the final lesson. Your world is the garden wearing seams. As we part for now, place in your mouth 1 sentence, not as a performance, not as medicine to be forced down a reluctant throat, but as a taste you already love. I am wealthy now. Let it flavor your voice when you speak the ordinary lines of the day. Let it infuse your posture when you enter rooms that once heard you asking and now hear you deciding. Let it color your night as the channels run, and the seeds think their quiet thoughts under warm soil. And if you are ever tempted to look for proof before you rest, remember this garden and smile. Proof follows the planted row. Rest is the fence that keeps out only what no longer belongs. Receive the gate's simple creak as a blessing. Receive your own footsteps as the sound of harvest scheduled. You have walked through the garden of wealth. You know the way. The way is not a map. The way is a mood. Keep it, and the garden keeps you. I have often said that imagination is the only river that never runs dry. Men fear drought because they mistake the clouds for the source and the coin for the wealth. But the source is not the cloud. It is the deep spring within, and the coin is but the coolness on the tongue that proves a spring nearby. Come, let us walk to the river that has supplied me in every season. It is not on any map, yet it has shores, bridges, boats, currents, and laws. It will show you in symbols what you already are in truth, a channel through which abundance gladly flows. The path to the river begins as a narrow ribbon of packed earth, familiar as a well-used book. Stones lie in the exact places your feet expect them. Grasses lean without needing to be asked. The air holds the quiet seriousness of things that have always been true. At a turning of the path, the ground falls away to a broad valley, and there, like metal drawn by a magnet, your eye finds it a moving band of light. Not water merely, but something that carries the dignity of water and the intelligence of law. It winds without hurry, widening where it can bless, narrowing where it must focus, forever certain of its destination, the sea of fulfillment. We descend a set of worn steps cut into chalk. At the bottom, the bank curves like a hospitable arm. The surface of the river reflects your state more faithfully than any mirror ever crafted. Storm the world with worry, and its ripples mimic the storm. Stand in the dignity of already, and the water smooths to a satin path that prefers your weight. I kneel and place my fingertips into the current. Watch how the water yields and returns, never once arguing, never once withholding. It is the law behaving as it always does, receiving the assumption and rushing to express it as form. A small dock extends from the bank, its planks seasoned by years of safe arrivals. A skiff is tied there with a cord whose knot knows it will be untied. The boat bears a simple name painted along its side in quiet letters, already provided. I step in first, not because you cannot, but because I wish to show you how naturally this craft welcomes any who travel by state. The skiff steadies under my weight and steadies again when you join me. The river, feeling our consent, presses its gentle palm against the hull, and guides us into the mid-channel where the current keeps its clearest vow. Along the left bank, mills turn their slow, confident circles. They are not the mills of noise and smoke, but mills of meaning. Each wheel is labeled with a truth. Fair exchange, right price, prompt payment, generous timing, quiet surplus. The river drives them without strain. That is the first lesson of this water. What turns here is not forced by hands. It is moved by agreement. When you accept, I am wealthy now, the wheel called fair exchange begins at once to rotate. Its paddles lift shining sprays of solution that fall as answered mail, cleared balances, invitations that feel like familiar coats. On the right bank stand weirs and gates, each carefully built, each attended by keepers who are not men at all, but principles in simple clothing. One keeper is sufficiency, another is stewardship, another generosity. Their hands rest on levers that regulate outflow to fields and towns beyond our sight. They smile as we pass, for they know what the river knows. Whenever a gate opens to give, the midstream strengthens to supply. This is the second lesson. Outflow is not loss in a lawful river. It is momentum. A signpost rises from a sandbar, brass glinting in a sun that does not need to be pointed out. On the sign are words engraved in a hand that looks like calm authority. Inflow, outflow, kept, seeded. Beneath the words a needle moves as if reading a pulse. The needle rests upon plenty. If it drifts toward tightness, it only does so in response to a mind that has tightened first. Relax the assumption into already provided, and the needle returns with relief, as though it prefers to live where you have chosen to live. We pass under a stone bridge. On its keystone is carved, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I lay my palm against the cool arch as we drift beneath. You can feel the sentence in the way the stone holds. No strain, no uncertainty, just weight meeting purpose. That is the third lesson. Structure belongs to the one who has already decided. The bridge exists because someone assumed traffic would cross here. The river welcomes the arch because it knows how to hold what believes in it. Beyond the bridge, a tributary joins, clear and quick. It carries small leaf boats stamped with tidy seals. The leaves bear words that would have made your shoulders drop in any prior season. Approved, settled, released, paid in full. The seals are not pressed by institutions. They are pressed by your inner court, the only court that ever mattered. The leaf boats merge with our current and kiss the skiff's hull as they pass. When one touches your hand, your skin tingles with the good news of inevitability. That is the fourth lesson. What you consent to feel begins to look for you in the outer world, the way a friend looks for your face in a crowd. The river bends toward a section where the banks broaden into sandy shelves. Here, the water slows to the exact pace needed for teaching. I run my fingers through the surface and lift them. The drops do not cling like fear. They fall as blessing and return at once to the parent stream. Notice how nothing here contradicts circulation. Even your touch becomes part of the movement. You are not separate from the flow. You are a shape it enjoys. Soon, a cluster of boathouses comes into view, wood, stone, good hinges, honest roofs. Each boathouse front bears a sign in clear script. Work already done. Royalties and dividends. Gifts without invoice, surprising introductions, timely adjustments. In front of each, small crews move like well-rehearsed kindness. They sort parcels, coil ropes, checklists, written in the quiet ink of order. These crews are your imaginal acts put to employment. When you choose a state, you hired them. They love their wages, fulfillment. We draw near to the house marked work already done. A foreman, with eyes the color of good judgment, holds up a stamped dispatch for us to see, remitted ahead of schedule. He does not shout, he lets the letters do the work. A runner carries the dispatch down a gangplank and places it into a basket labeled to your door. I nod once. I learned long ago that nods are the currency this river honors. Gestures of quiet receipt move the flow faster than any shout. The skiff noses back to midstream. The water darkens to a deeper blue, not ominous, dignified. We have entered a reach known among the keepers as the long confidence. Many men never see it, because they never stay with an assumption long enough to discover what lies beyond early proofs. Here the river moves with the posture of a king. It is no longer proving itself. It is simply being itself. Banks are higher, carved smooth by centuries of fulfilled prayers. In their faces you can read the grooves of petitions that matured into facts. I point to a stratum, where the rock bears a seam of bright stone. That seam is a season in your life, when you once decided, held, and witnessed. The seam is your signature, geologically remembered. An island appears ahead, low, green, hospitable. The current splits to pass on either side and reunites below. We steer to the inside curve and glide along a quay edged with round stones. A modest archway opens onto a court. Above the arch, a lintel carving. The clerk of accounts that truly count. We moor and step ashore. Inside the court, a table waits with a ledger bound in linen, heavy only with meaning. The clerk is not a person. It is a presence that wears the manners of precision. It turns the ledger so it faces you, and indicates a line with a silver ruler. On the line your hand has already written, in ink that looks like conviction. Funds land easily before they are needed. No interrogation follows. No official stamp required. The clerk smiles the way a dependable instrument smiles when tuned. It makes a single notation in a neat hand, confirmed by state. We step back into the skiff and push off. The water welcomes us, as if glad to hold our weight again. A little way downstream, a procession crosses overhead, an aqueduct of stone carrying yet another current. This one flows from the high gardens of imagination down into form. It pours into the river through a dozen lion-mouth spouts. Each spout bears a word: idea, desire, image, assumption, consent, circulation, receipt, rest, revision, gratitude, stewardship, increase. The lion mouths spill without quarrel, and the river absorbs without complaint. I have taught this sequence for years, but to see it as water changes a man, it proves that order is not an enemy of wonder. It is wonder's favorite table. The current quickens pleasantly. Ahead, the banks drop lower and meadows open like pages. Here, in the wide bend known as Provision's Ease, boats come and go with a music that needs no instrument. Some boats are tiny, single-seat skiffs carrying one envelope, one handshake, one sentence that completes a day. Others are broad-bellied barges, bearing timetables, contracts, and the kind of furniture that belongs in a life that stopped apologizing for its own scale. What unites them is the varnish of rightness on their rails. They shine not because they were polished, but because they belong. A child on the bank waves to us and tosses something that arcs in a clean line and lands in the skiff with a soft clink. It is a token, round and warm from the sun, stamped with a phrase, "Money enjoys my care." I turn it between thumb and finger. The letters are raised just enough to teach your skin. Place it in your pocket. See how simply the pocket learns to sit a little more squarely, as if pockets prefer confidence. On the far shore stands a simple tower with a clock that does not tick in seconds. Its face is marked not by numbers, but by seasons of state. Choosing, assuming, resting, receiving, circulating, increasing. A single hand moves with the courtesy of inevitability. It never moves backward. It does not skip to the end to satisfy impatience. It honors order, because order is kindness in motion. When the hand points to resting, men of haste grow suspicious. They believe nothing is happening, but the river smiles at their suspicion. Resting is where the bottom shapes the flow for miles. We come to a place where the bed of the river rises, and the current becomes clear as glass over pale stone. The water gazes up like a truthful friend. This is Transparency Reach. Here the law shows you your assumptions, the way a lake shows a face, without malice, without flattery. If you consent to lack, this water will show you how cleverly you have named your shortages. If you consent to wealth now, It will show you how naturally you are obeyed. Look down. The stones bear small inscriptions carved by the passage of other boats. Enough, plenty, paid, safe to receive, prosper through peace. The words do not sit on the stones. They have become part of them through 100,000 passes. That is the fifth lesson. Repetition in imagination engraves reality. A flock of white birds lifts from a reed bed, rises, circles, and settles further downstream. Their wings write a sentence across the air. It is safe to arrive early. I have watched this flock 100 times. They never tire of saying what men most need to hear. There is no merit badge for late. Early is allowed. Early is lawful. Early is wonderful. The river narrows again, and the banks steepen. Along these banks, a series of gates sends channels into fields of grain. Each gate is tagged with a commonplace word that money-timid men fear: rent, tuition, insurance, tools, travel, gifts, play. The fearful call these drains. The river calls them routes of blessing. Watch how the water departs without anxiety and returns by paths you cannot map. When a channel opens, the midstream thickens. When the midstream thickens, boats that had been waiting upstream feel permission and come. That is the sixth lesson. Generosity is not a leak in the hull. It is the reason the current respects your keel. A long, low barge passes us heading upstream. Its deck piled with crates, bearing mute, cheerful stamps. Thank you, enjoy, for you this is right. We are glad. The crew lift their hands in greeting. They have learned the great game of circulation. Give, and the river thrills with hold, and the river slows, not to punish you, but because you have told it to become a pond. Ponds are lovely for reflection. Rivers are better for wealth. Choose your water according to the season of your soul. Now the banks pull in close, rock rising high on either side. The skiff enters a canyon where the sound deepens to a kind of low singing. This is the gorge of unarguable knowing. Rome could crumble above it, and still this river would hum. Empire or cottage. Markets staggering or markets striding. None of it interrupts the song. Here, the law is audible even to those who never learned its grammar. I lean close and whisper the plainest phrasing I know. I am the one to whom wealth naturally returns. The gorge answers with a resonance that travels through the wood of the skiff into your bones. That is the seventh lesson. The world is built to amplify your assumption. The canyon opens suddenly into a wide basin. Calm, expansive generosity itself made into water. In the center stands a stone set, like an altar. We glide alongside and read the inscription cut into its face. I receive while I rest. The letters are clean and deep. Moss has grown around them in the way that living things keep company with truth. I place my hand on the stone. It is warm, not from the sun alone, but from the countless palms that have pressed these words into themselves. If a man cannot sleep in this basin, he has not yet learned where rest lives. Stay long enough, and rest will learn him. Around the basin's rim, small markets hum with the commerce of sufficiency. Here, there is no haggling disguised as sport. There is only the noble game of right exchange. A baker hands a loaf to a mother, and both hands learn something about God. A tailor measures a sleeve, and the tape becomes a ribbon of blessing. A teacher adjusts a child's page, and the alphabet turns into provision. Money changes hands the way water changes course, to accomplish blessing. That is the eighth lesson. Money is not a judge, it is a servant. Teach it your tone. We set off again. The current carries us under a row of plane trees that have made the bank their philosophy: upright, resilient, shade-giving. From their branches hang small tokens on linen threads. You can reach up and take one without breaking stride. I take one and pass it to you. On its face, a single raised word: access. The back bears a quiet sentence: doors want me. The token warms in your palm until your palm believes it. Hold it, and the river shows you 3 doors you had called walls. A bend reveals a ferry crossing. People wait on both banks. Ordinary, extraordinary, the same. The ferryman works not with coin, but with countenance. He looks into each face and sees a state. If the state is I am received now, the ferry kisses the bank without a jolt, and the plank lowers of its own accord. If the state is let me audition for permission, the ferry stays midstream, not to deny, but to teach. Watch how swiftly the waiting faces change when they remember where the gate truly stands. They do not push forward, they change within, and the river changes its mind about them. At the far edge of this reach, an old stone marker leans at a polite angle. Lichen has softened its edges, but the words are still legible, where the channel of belief meets the sea of fact. We are not yet at the sea, but we draw nearer with every consent. The air takes on that slight salt of completion. Birds come and go in straight lines, busy as competence. The skiff feels lighter without losing steadiness, as if progress had become the path's favorite weight. Before we reach the sea, I wish to show you one more place. A narrow inlet opens on the left, so modest you might think it a ditch if you hurried past. It leads to a quiet pool bounded by stones worn silky by attention. In the pool, a single eddy turns, patient as a wisdom tooth. This is the circle of revision. Whatever has flown downstream can be touched here and turned back as blessing. The eddy receives not the event, but the meaning. And when the meaning is changed, the river returns it to you as harvest rather than hurt. I cup a little water and let it pour back into the pool, while I give thanks for a memory that once stung and now feeds. The pool brightens, and the main current, invisible from here, answers with a long, contented sigh. We drift out of the inlet, and the river widens one last time. A line appears on the horizon, where river and sea shake hands. A lighthouse stands at the bar, its revolving lens sending a slow sentence across the water. I am wealthy now. It is not a shout. It is cadence, an unfailing interval that keeps time with the unhurried law. The sea receives the river as a mother receives a child who has grown into himself. No fuss, no surprise, only that deep private welling, of course. Here, where river meets sea, a harbor spreads its arms, piers extend like promises kept. Cranes move with the intelligence of bees, lifting, placing, distributing. Shops around the quay bear names that would have shamed your worry into silence had you known them earlier. Old debts cleared, early funds, right partners, rooms with windows, journeys that bless, returns with interest, morning without hurry. There is no music playing, and still there is music. We make fast at a cleat polished by 1,000 ropes. The dockmaster approaches, cap, ledger, a smile that knows the tides. He does not ask for proof of identity. He recognizes identity. He flips the ledger open to your entry and traces a line with the tip of his pencil. Cargo, to be received. Provision, ease, purpose, right price. Calm stewardship, quiet surplus. He writes nothing new. He acknowledges what the river has been carrying since the spring. He stamps the bottom of the page with a seal that is older than any government. It is done. We step onto the quay. I lead you to the water's lip, where the river's last sweetness becomes salt, and the world calls it done. Put your hand into the seam and feel what I have felt all my life. Abundance is circulation, not accumulation. The river is never trying to keep itself. It is trying to keep moving. Be like that. Be the channel that remembers the sea is inevitable. Before we depart, take from the harbor wall one of the brass plaques that hang there for those who have learned to read them. Choose the one that glows with your name. The plaque you choose bears a phrase I love, one I have set in the frames of many minds until the frames learn to hold their own pictures. Funds land easily before they are needed. Slip the plaque into your pocket. It will not weigh you down. It will steady you the way. A hand along a railing steadies a foot on a stair. We return to the skiff for the journey upriver. But everything is different, though nothing has changed. That is the paradox of lawful wealth. When you consent to the tone, the scene adjusts its furniture. The mills turn a little brighter. The gates open with the confidence of hosts expecting old friends. The clock's hand advances. though it never rushed. The gorge hums your sentence back to you without variation. The leaf boats continue to kiss the hull like kind signatures. As we near our first dock, I draw the skiff alongside and let the rope find the cleat by itself. Ropes here know their work. On the bank, a man sets down a crate and wipes his brow with his sleeve. He looks up, meets your gaze, and nods with the ease of one who has just found what he was seeking. He does not ask your name. He feels it. He lifts the crate and places it in your arms with the simple dignity of fair exchange. On the crate side, a stencil reads, "Paid in full." No trumpets, no ceremony. Only the most pleasant words in the world. Here it is. You answer with the most pleasant words in return. Thank you. Yes. And that is the river's favorite sound. Thank you, spoken as a description, not a plea. Thank you that arises because you stood where standing is rewarded. Thank you that becomes the law's favorite wind. I step onto the bank and look back at you. The skiff sits low now, not with burden, with blessing. You need not push it home. The river will escort it to the place you call your door. The mills will nod as it passes. The gates will wink their brass on a day that feels like the perfect temperature. The clerk will mark his neat notation in a ledger that never misses a line. The harbor will polish a space for your next arrival. And between all these, the water will do what it has always done for those who know it flow. Keep this picture where a man keeps his most trustworthy maps on the inside of his eyes. When the outer world grows loud, remember the midstream. When bills posture like generals, remember the leaf boats that carried, approved as if it were as natural as dawn. When a door pretends to be stone, lay your hand on the lighthouse sentence and watch the door remember how to hinge. Say within yourself, not as a trick but as a homecoming, I am wealthy now. I receive while I rest. What concerns me is resolved in my favor with grace and perfect timing. You will feel the keel answer. You will hear the gorge sing. You will see the mills turn, the gates swing, the harbor wave. You will know in the most practical place a man can know, in his accounts, in his kitchen, in the calendar pinned above his desk, that the river of unending supply has learned your name, because you finally remembered it. And should you ever wonder whether it is fitting to be this well kept, this well carried, this well supplied, look once more at the stone by the basin and read what even the moss has learned to recite. I receive while I rest, not because I am idle, but because I am in law. Not because I am lucky, but because I am lawful. Not because the river favors me, but because I finally favored the river. Walk back up the chalk steps with that sentence in your pocket and that cadence in your bones. The world you meet at the top of the bank will seem the same. Streets, ledgers, doors, faces, but you will know what it is at last. The river wearing scenes. All that I have ever taught rests upon a simple recognition, what you dare to assume as true of yourself, though denied by the senses, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This hall you are about to enter is the image of that recognition. I call it the treasury of light, not because it hoards, but because it remembers. It remembers every fulfilled desire, every answered prayer, every quiet yes life has ever given you, and it keeps the record in the only coin that never devalues, radiance. The approach is unassuming, a walkway of pale stone set between hedges that have been trimmed by faithful hands. At the end of the walk stands a door with no lock. It holds itself closed the way a book holds its place with a ribbon. When your palm meets the brass, the door inclines as though it had been listening for that exact touch. It swings inward into a cool vestibule, where silence behaves like a good host, present, attentive, never oppressive. Ahead, a second door glows faintly as though lit from within. On its lintel, carved deep and clean, 4 words: assume, consent, receive, circulate. I step through first and gesture you after me. The treasury opens in a round atrium, floored in limestone worn to a soft sheen by countless unhurried footsteps. The ceiling rises to a clear dome whose ribs of bronze have weathered to the gentle green of patience. Between the ribs, panes of glass hold a night that does not so much hang as lean down to listen. Around the circumference, tall bookcases rise, not of wood, but of something like carved dawn, each shelf bearing boxes and scrolls that hum at a pitch. The nervous system calls peace. Nothing here urges, everything here witnesses. In the center stands a fountain. Not water, but light flows from its tiered bowls, clear, continuous, generous. It moves with the confidence of a truth that no longer needs to prove itself. The flowing brightness catches the undersides of the arches, the edges of the steps, the spines of the archives, and gives them all a living contour, as though each outline were an idea warming its way into substance. I place my hand over the topmost bowl, and the light rises a finger higher in greeting. This place recognizes the one who recognizes himself. We begin along the first aisle. Each alcove holds an open box, inside of which a particular form of provision is kept in perfect order. At the head of the aisle, a small plaque reads, "Provision, Early Arrivals." Within the first box, letters are arranged in tidy bundles. They are not tied with ribbon, because nothing needs restraining here. You read the top sheet. It is short and complete. Remitted ahead of schedule. You set it down, and the words do not fade. They have already taken up residence in the memory of your cells. The next sheet reads, "Approved and released." Another cleared without delay. Another dispatched to your door. None of these require drama. They require recognition. The Treasury does not shout to be believed. It offers you a tone and expects you to match it. In the next alcove, a series of ledgers rests, their covers bound in linen the color of warm cream. Each ledger carries a calm title pressed into the cloth. Work already done, returns on seeds, gifts without invoice, graces not requested. I open work already done and turn a page. The columns are simple, in, out, kept, given, seeded, blessed. But what moves down those columns is not mere number. It is narrative. You see an entry in the in column, and the skin of your forearms remembers how it feels to meet an envelope with steadiness rather than startle. You see an entry in given, and your shoulders settle into a width that can carry others lightly. You see an entry in seeded, and your chest feels that old, noble warmth of planting. For a season you cannot yet see. You see an entry in blessed, and something in the back of your heart exhales the way a room does when morning unbuttons the curtains. We pass into a gallery where tall cases display instruments whose faces glow with a thin honey of illumination. Each is labeled with a single principle: stewardship, sufficiency, generosity, dignity, ease. The needles of these instruments do not jitter. They move with the courtesy of inevitability. When your state is tight, the needle of sufficiency leans toward pinched. When you return to already provided, it slides home to plenty without fanfare. That is the way of this hall. No scolding, only feedback. It does not punish. It reminds. In the alcove marked dignity, a narrow table holds a tray of tokens. Round, palm warm, stamped with phrases you might once have called audacious and now call obvious. Paid in full, right price, trusted with more, money enjoys. My care, my decisions are blessed. Choose one. Let the metal teach the skin. The Treasury prefers that knowledge travel both ways, from idea into flesh, from flesh into idea. When the hand learns, the world has a new place to land its gifts. We turn left into a long hall, lit by sconces whose brass cups are shaped like open hands. Along the wall, maps are mounted behind glass. They are not maps of geography, but of movement, currents of value, as they travel from desire to form, and then back again to desire enlarged. The lines are not straight. They do not pretend that life reduces itself to chalk and rule. They curve, braid, widen, narrow, pause, overflow. Certain places on the maps are starred. Each star bears a single date, a single word: consent. It is at these stars that roots open, not when the world gave permission, but when you did. That is the treasury's most radical kindness. It insists upon your sovereignty without burdening you with force. At the end of the map hall, a door waits slightly ajar. Its edge glows the way horizon glows, at the minute before the sun makes its introduction. I press the door open, and we enter a circular chamber with a table standing alone in its center. The table is carved from a single piece of wood, so well seasoned that the grain has softened into a script. On the table lies a book bound in deep blue leather, stitched along the edges, with something that looks like gold drawn into thread. The cover bears no title, only a small imprint, an open hand above a calm wave. This is the Book of Agreements Remembered. I turn it toward you. The page waiting beneath your hands has room for exactly 3 lines, as though creation itself desired your brevity. Whatever you write here becomes the Treasury's current policy on your behalf. I have written my 3 lines 1,000 ways, which is to say, I have written them once and remembered them often. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. I receive while I rest. Write what you must. This room will not rush you. When the lines are complete, the letters do not merely sit atop the page, they sink, as dye sinks into good fiber, as certainty sinks into posture. The page warms under your hand. Somewhere above us, a bell that does not clang, confesses itself, one round note, and then stillness, as though to say, it is done. Not loudly, but finally. Past the agreement chamber, we enter the archive of fulfilled prayers. Here the light is very soft, and seems to come from the objects themselves. On low plinths, glass cases hold scenes the way a memory holds scent. A letter arrives with your name written in a hand that makes your ribcage widen. A set of keys rests on a palm, and the hand that gives them smiles with the relief of rightness. A page of figures aligns into a balance that requires no heroic interpretation, just columns agreeing to be honest. These are not fantasies, they are records. The Treasury keeps only what has taken on form, but there is a sister room across the corridor called the Nursery of Inevitable Outcomes, where the same scenes breathe like infants that have yet to learn walking. You glance through its doorway and feel the exact sensation your life makes when a seed knows it is seed no longer. We move into a colonnade whose capitals are carved with motifs, not of leaves, not of animals, but of ideas, each delicately rendered until thought becomes ornament. Here, reliefs depict desire making the first honest claim, imagination clothing it, assumption enthroning it, sleep opening the gate, subconscious receiving the decree. The last relief shows form kneeling, not as a subject before a tyrant, but as a servant before a beloved master. The sculptor has carved a single phrase along the lintel that ties the sequence together. The world mirrors inner assumption. I have said it in 100 halls, to 1,000 ears. Do not wait for the world to tell you who you are. Tell it who you are, and let it enjoy the relief of obeying. At the colonnade's end, a modest stair descends to a vault. It is not underground. It is under noise. Here are kept the symbols of provision. They rest in open trays lined with something like felt, though softer. Each tray holds a category of sign, not for magic, for gentleness. There are keys, each cut with a shape that stands for readiness. There are coins of light, warm when held, cool when laid down, stamped with phrases that became posture. There are feathers, a whole drawer of them, each dyed the color of a different reassurance, the gray of calm mornings, the gold of returned messages, the blue of clear timing. There are seals, circles of wax that never harden beyond kindness, waiting to bless a letter, a ledger, a choice. There are stamps, small, weighty, honest, each with a single word raised upon its face. Cleared, approved, released, completed, blessed. Take what you need from these trays. The Treasury asks no price. It has already been paid by your attention. When you keep a coin of light in your pocket, you are not trusting in metal. You are training muscle. When you slip a key on your ring, you are not relying upon brass. You are rehearsing access When you press a seal to an envelope, literal or imaginal, you are letting quiet finality rest where you used to argue. This place does not scold your former habits. It relieves them the way a well-made chair relieves the spine. Sit, and it proves what it was built to prove. We climb again to a room that opens upon a balcony. The treasury sits within a larger city of order, and from this height you can see avenues, along which travel small carriages of light shaped like phrases. They come, they go, and they leave no smoke, only an aroma like clean linen. Each carriage bears a mark that tells its purpose. Some carry right people, some right place, some right price, some right price, some right time. They do not wander. They follow courses that have been laid by consent. What you permit yourself to be, they are free to deliver. What you refuse, they set gently aside as a good but unopened parcel. There is no waste here. There is timing. On the balcony's rail rests a case shaped like a long, narrow box. Inside is a ribbon, deep blue, with a thread of gold running down its middle. A card. Attached to one end, waits for your words. I have watched men write declarations as though they were bargaining. The treasury does not bargain. It records. Write without plea. Write as one who owns his breath. A sentence that has served me through every corridor, across every sea, in hunger and plenty both, is this: I am wealthy now. When you write it here, the ribbon drinks the ink and carries it upward. You watch as it climbs the side of the arch, threads itself along a brace, passes under the dome, and then lays itself across your shoulders, as naturally as a shawl that belonged to your grandmother, a steadying weight, a familiar warmth. That is the mark of a rightful sentence. It becomes garment. Back inside, a craftsman's table waits in the room of gentle machinery. On it rests a small press of brass and iron, well-oiled, dignified, eager to be used properly. Beside it, a stack of cards whose texture asks the hand to slow. Each card bears, in watermark, a word that will reveal itself only if approached with respect: ease, sufficiency, overflow, generosity. Stewardship: place a card between the plates. Lower the lever. The press does not clank, it sighs, a sound like a door closing perfectly against its frame. Lift the lever and read the impression. Paid in full. You do not need to convince anyone of this impression. You need only to print it upon your inner correspondence until your outer correspondence learns to agree. Across the room, a cabinet holds drawers, labeled not with numbers or arcane codes, but with the ordinariness that used to intimidate you. Rent, tuition, insurance, supplies, travel, gifts, play. Open any drawer. Inside are envelopes already addressed to the right place. Their flaps are open, waiting like mouths prepared to speak blessings. If you place a card stamped "paid in full" into one of these envelopes, the treasury does not ask how. It asks when you will enjoy the evidence. You close the drawer and hear a soft chime, as though China had touched China in polite celebration. We return to the atrium where the fountain of light keeps its patient, generous fall. Around its base, bowls are set out, clear crystal, their rims engraved with single words: provision, ease, joy, purpose, freedom. You dip your fingers into provision, and when you draw them out, the light clings a moment and then sinks into the skin, leaving a thin sheen like memory's favorite photograph. You touch ease to your forehead, and the plane between your eyes learns a new habit. You cup joy in your hands and hold it near your mouth until the face understands it, no longer needs to rehearse seriousness to be respected. You touch purpose to your throat and feel voice becoming unforced. You let freedom bead along your chest and slide down to rest in the place the body calls center. All of this is symbol, and all of it is law. The treasury is not a place for superstition. It is a schoolroom of tenderness where the most practical truths are given pleasant clothing so we can love them into our bones. Before we leave, I want you to see the counter of quiet settlements. It is a long, simple desk attended by figures who are neither male nor female, neither old nor young. They carry the air of clerks who never make mistakes and never announce their competence. People come to this counter carrying bundles of paper that used to hum with demand. They lay them down as if setting a tray on a friend's table. The attendant lifts a single stamp that has seen long service. It is not ornate, it is not theatrical, it is accurate. It comes down upon the top sheet with the sound I have come to trust more than any roar, a gentle final thud. Cleared. The black mark is humble, but the vibration travels into the hand, the wrist, the forearm, the shoulder, the chest, and fixes its home just behind the heart. Men leave this counter taller by a few honest millimeters. You ask, but what if I have failed before? What if I assumed and faltered? The treasury does not hold failures. It holds records and revisions. It also holds the room of revision, a space where scenes that once cut now become cloth. In that room stands a table made of old oak. Upon it is a basin of light that swirls in a slow, unthreatening eddy. You place into the basin a memory, and you do not rehearse it. You rewrite it. You do not deny, you decide. You watch the swirl, lift what was painful and dissolve it into a pattern you can wear without flinching. When you lift your hands, they do not tremble. The treasury accepts the revised record, files it with a small, satisfied sound, and the corridor outside brightens by a shade you could not name until you saw it. Relief. We circle at last to the entrance, where the first door still stands ajar. Before you step back into the avenue of the ordinary, you notice a small table that had not shown itself on the way in. Upon it sit three objects: a token, a key, and a note. The token bears already enough, always more. The key is warm, though no flame touched it. The note is brief, in a hand you recognize as your own, written on a day you have not yet lived. Thank you for consenting to peace. It multiplied everything. You tuck the note into a pocket that has learned how to carry good words. You slide the key along your ring where it will find the door that wants you. You place the token in your palm, and your palm learns something. It will teach your spine. I push the door with 2 fingers, and the corridor beyond seems brighter, not because a lamp was lit, but because your eyes have learned a different grammar. The world into which we step, streets, ledgers, doors, faces, has not changed its costume, but it has changed its tone. You have changed it. You will find in the next room that letters arrive early and consent to land. You will find that bills quiet themselves when addressed by a settled voice. You will discover that men who once delayed now move with the ease of those who enjoy their own competence. You will recognize that what you assumed in the treasury has assumed you in return. Carry with you the only liturgy this hall ever required. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. I receive while I rest. Money enjoys my care. I am wealthy now. Do not argue with these sentences. Wear them, let them line the inside of your chest the way a good tailor lines a coat. Not to disguise, to dignify. If ever you forget, return. The treasury is not a place that closes. It continues its work whether or not you watch. It will gladly remind you that abundance is circulation, not accumulation, that stewardship is joy, not burden, that dignity is softness with a spine, that the world mirrors inner assumption, that your consent is the hinge on which doors love to turn. When you lie down and invite the night to do its creative labor, picture again the fountain, the ledgers, the stamps, the ribbons, the tokens, the keys, the balcony with its carriages of light. Picture the counter where cleared is a gentle finality. Let these images become the furniture of your inner rooms. Let your mind keep house here. And when morning comes dressed in common things, song of kettle, leather of shoes, scrape of chair, you will discover that common things carry the scent of the treasury. They will smell faintly of orange peel, and clean paper, and a promise already kept. I have walked this hall in famine and feasting. It has never dimmed for lack of my praise, and it has never refused to brighten because I was late. It lives by a law that cares nothing for spectacle and everything for honesty. Bring it your honest state, not your performance. Bring it your willingness, not your worry. Bring it your quiet line on a blue page, and let the bell concede what you dared to write. It is done. And as we step back into the avenue, let one more sentence tie itself, like a ribbon, between the treasury and your day. The world is never first. I am. When you keep that order, doors develop manners, numbers learn music, and money remembers its role, to move through you as light moves through glass, leaving you brighter for having been its chosen pane. There is a place I have visited so often that I can find it with my eyes closed in a crowded room. It is not far, and it is not hidden, yet it keeps a kind of reverent privacy, the way a letter keeps the intimacy of the hand that wrote it. I call this place the fountain of provision, not because it dazzles, though it can, but because it repeats. It repeats the truth until the body believes it. Supply is natural to you. What you dare to assume as true of yourself becomes the stream that finds your door without clamor. We approach without ceremony. You do not need trumpets to enter your own inheritance. A narrow path leads between low walls of pale stone, their tops warmed by a sun that seems to remember your name. Small plants have made homes in the cracks, thyme, a little fennel, something that smells like clean linen when touched. The path widens into a courtyard round, as a patient breath, held in the chest of the world. At the center stands the fountain, built not of cold marble that insists upon admiration, but of a living, light-toned stone that drinks brightness and gives it back as a hush. The basin is broad and shallow, a low circle that invites nearness rather than awe. From its center rises a slender column that carries 3 bowls, one small, one larger still, so that what begins as a fine thread returns to the earth as a quiet sheet. The water is clear, with a hint of gold, as though morning itself agreed to pass through here on its way to elsewhere. It falls with the sound of completion, not hurry, a sound that reminds you of envelopes opening cleanly, of latches clicking home, of footsteps that know where they're going. Around the basin are set 5 low stools, simple, well-made, the kind a grandmother would keep for grandchildren who have just come in from the garden. Each stool bears a single word carved in the wood and rubbed with oil until the grain holds it as its own. Enough, ease, overflow, gratitude, stewardship. Sit where you are drawn. This is your room. The furniture will meet you. I take the stool marked enough because I know the mischief scarcity makes in a man's reflexes. Scarcity is not an amount, it is a stance. It argues with the world before the world has spoken. When I sit here, that argument loses its audience. My hands open of themselves, not to plead, but to demonstrate that they remember how to be empty without being poor. Emptiness is not deprivation in this courtyard, it is readiness. The same readiness a field shows between harvest and sowing. Full, though bare to the eye, beneath the lip of the basin, engraved in a circle, run 5 phrases. They look like ornament, but they are practice. And practice is what makes law a life. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. Money enjoys my care. I circulate what I receive, and it returns multiplied. I receive while I rest. These sentences do not request, they name. They do not strain, they settle. The fountain repeats them in water, the way a mother hums a tune that kept her as a child. Look closely at the surface of the basin. It is not a mirror. Mirrors offer back what already is. This surface does something kinder. It shows you what you consent to. When I arrive spined with defense, it shows me a narrow trickle. When I sit as one who belongs, it shows me that the small thread at the top has become a broad sheet by the time it meets the circle. The same water, different stance, different experience. On the inner rim of the basin, at 4 points of the compass, shallow channels lead outward like small deliberate rivers. Each channel carries a name pressed into the stone in a hand that does not shout. Work already done, gifts without invoice, returns on seeds, right people, right time. The fountain does not ask me to choose between them. Law is not a miser. It permits all channels to flow at once when the condition is set within. The condition is simple: assume the end and persist. If I insist upon chasing one stream, I narrow myself to one door and call it prudence. If I consent to state, the house opens doors I did not know it had. I have a habit here that has never failed me. I take from my jacket a small leather folder and lay it on the stone. In it are cards. Nothing mystical, only clear. On one I have written rent, on another tuition, on another supplies, travel, gifts, home, play, savings, tithe, rest. I do not pile them anxiously, I fan them like a hand of cards meant for a friend's table. The fountain is a friend's table. I choose one card and place its edge lightly against the sheet of falling water, so that a fine wet line creases the paper from top to bottom. This is not superstition. It is rehearsal. I am telling my senses in a language they understand that this matter belongs to the stream. I am placing it where the law says it belongs, under the governance of done. There is a pedestal to the right of the basin. Upon it rests a small stamp made of honest brass with a handle of oiled walnut that fits the hand without teaching it a lesson. The face of the stamp carries a single word: cleared. The stamp is not an idol, it is a reflection. I lift it and feel that friendly weight that never pretends to be more than it is. I bring it down upon the edge of the card with that soft, conclusive thud I have trusted in counting rooms and kitchens and stations and empty rooms at midnight. The ink is dark, the impression clean, but the true impression lands elsewhere, behind the breastbone where decisions become posture. Cleared. The water accepts the card's presence as if it had been invited, not begged in. When I lay the card beside the others to dry, something inside my spine adds half a line to my height and calls it relief. The second stool, ease, teaches the same lesson in a different accent. Ease is not laziness. Ease is the style of power that does not panic. I have seen men sign contracts with their mouths set as if they were chewing rope. Those agreements do not taste of ease, and they sour the day. Ease speaks in arrangements that work because they can breathe. Sitting here, I notice the fountain cycle more distinctly. Fall, gather, release, return. There is no turbulence, only pace. When I assume wealth in ease, the body organizes itself around that pace. I stop telegraphing famine to the world. The world, relieved of the duty to mirror my hurry, becomes courteous. Across from me, the stool marked overflow waits with the good humor of a chair that knows it will be occupied as soon as a man remembers he is not a drought. Overflow is not spectacle. It is a margin wide enough to be generous without explanation. Here I consider envelopes, with names I used to delay, gifts and play. I place them plainly against the fall. I refuse the bargain that says play is permitted only when exhaustion has earned it. I refuse the superstition that generosity must wait until numbers are dramatic. Overflow begins with willingness, not zeros. Zeros follow willingness the way shadows follow light. On gratitude, I need say little. Gratitude is not payment, it is circulation. The fountain teaches this better than I ever could. When I give thanks, I do not return value to its source, I open channels for its return. Gratitude sanctifies the trip back. The water that left comes again, not because it was forced, but because it was welcomed. On stewardship, men sometimes wince, as if the word carried a whip. In this courtyard, it does not. Stewardship is care without fear. It is the pleasure of maintenance, the oiling of hinges, the clear labeling of drawers, the timely reply to letters, the dignity of records that can be read by kind eyes without excuses. I have known palaces whose pipes sang with misery because their owners despised the ordinary. The fountain of provision does not bless contempt for the humble. It ennobles the humble by folding it into law. A well-kept ledger is not an idol. It is a hymn. It says, I am a faithful place for more. Around the inner curve of the courtyard, shallow niches hold objects the way memories hold scents. A tidy ledger bound in cloth, the color of morning milk, A simple pen that writes without scolding, a stack of envelopes already addressed to what is right, a pair of balanced scales whose arms do not tremble at the sight of plenty, a key ring with two teeth worn smooth by right doors, a small box of seals that never crack from force because they were never used to hold against the grain. None of these objects do magic. They make manners. And money loves a house with manners. Opposite the entrance, a low gate opens from the basin's far rim into a rill that wanders beneath an arch and into a garden I have described elsewhere, the harvests of fulfilled prayers, the quiet mint, the house of keys. Here we watch the rill go. We do not chase it. The water teaches a theology too simple for clever men. In gather, out, return. When you hoard, you stagnate. When you dramatize, you splash and call it providence. When you consent, you flow. Flow does what force cannot, it arrives without apology. To the left of the gate stands a shelf, with 4 bowls of clear crystal. Each bowl is cut with a single word that becomes more legible the longer one looks. Provision, ease, joy, purpose. You could call these bowls symbols and be done. I call them tutors. Dip 2 fingers into provision and touch the card that names your simplest, fairest needs. The paper learns a new temperature and stops behaving like a fuse. Touch ease to the corner of a contract and watch how the mind, seeing, remembers to read with dignity instead of suspicion. Touch joy to the envelope called gifts, not because gifts must be giddy, but because joy oils the hinge of circulation. Touch purpose to work already done. And remember that useful is not the same as joyless. We were not born to prove, we were born to express. Purpose is expression wearing boots. There is a clock here, if we must use the word, mounted above the arch, where the rill disappears. It keeps no hours. Hours are for trains and offices. This face holds a single band of gold that travels its circumference at a pace that never startles. When I am tempted to ask, when, you look at that band and recall that the law keeps the speed of my certainty, not the tempo of my nerves. The band does not hurry for pleading. It brightens for consent. Consent is not passive. It is sovereign. You may wonder how this fountain differs from the treasury we visited just now. The treasury keeps archives and agreements. The fountain is practice. You can walk from one to the other with a turn of the shoulder. And many do sign here, stamp there, then rinse the state in water until it becomes a reflex. In the end, reflex is what carries a man when memory grows thin. Teach your reflexes to answer lack with already provided, and the hand will reach for the stamp instead of the panic. Along the inner wall, a series of small placards display sentences I have used so often their letters live in my tongue. They look like proverbs until you practice them. Then they behave like levers. The world is never first. I am assumption is the seed, sleep is the soil, life is the harvest. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. Money enjoys my care. What I circulate returns multiplied. I receive while I rest. I take up each placard in turn, not to recite, but to inhabit. A sentence worn smooth by use becomes a step. A step walked often enough becomes a path. A path trodden long enough becomes a road. Other feet can trust. Be a man whose roads are trustworthy. There is a shallow cupboard near the entrance. In it, modest tools, broom, cloth, small oil can, a brush for dusting the letters of the basin so the words stay legible. Men think this a quaint touch until they try it. When you oil a hinge here, your jaw lets go of an old set. When you dust the engraved phrase I receive while I rest, the mind remembers that rest is not a pause between battles. It is the state in which the order is carried out. I have brushed these letters on nights when accounts were lean, and found in the dusting that lean was only an angle, not a verdict. From time to time a figure appears, an attendant whose age I cannot guess, because the face carries only the expression of those who have done simple work well for a very long time. The attendant sets a tray on the low table. Thin paper, thick paper, envelopes with pleasant weight, a sheaf of blank cards, an ink pad that does not smudge. The tray is never forced upon you, it waits. The fountain is rich in waiting. It has nothing to sell. It offers stations at which you may prove to yourself how law feels in the hands. Once, when I sat here, after an evening of letters that tested the tongue, the attendant took from the tray a card and a stub of pencil and wrote in a fine, upright hand, "You are not paid for effort. You are remunerated for state." The sentence touched down on the table with that same soft finality the stamp makes. I have repeated it to men who demanded a wage from the world while their inner ledger screamed arrears. Effort without state is a mill that grinds air and asks to be admired for its dust. Sit. Assume. Let the fountain spoil you for struggle. On the far side of the courtyard, a short flight of steps leads to a little balcony. From it you can watch the 4 channels separate from the basin and take their ways. Work already done hurries least and arrives earliest. Gifts without invoice wins like a hand that pauses to pick flowers. Returns on seeds moves with the seriousness of farms and seasons. Right people. Right time walks like a man who knows his appointment was set by someone who loves him. Below the balcony rail, a shallow trough runs back toward the basin. This is not contradiction. It is demonstration. Whatever leaves in truth returns in joy. There is no loss in this room. There is only circulation. Accumulation without circulation is hoarding. Circulation without care is waste. The fountain teaches the middle, the generous, sane middle, where more than enough becomes the tone. If guilt intrudes, and it often does in money's company, invite it to sit on the stool marked gratitude. Guilt thinks itself pious. Gratitude is holy. Guilt demands penance. Gratitude multiplies. Guilt cannot learn from abundance because it wishes to be the teacher. Gratitude learns quickly and remembers well. In this courtyard, the only sacrifice asked is the burning of hurry on the altar of already. You will be astonished how quickly numbers improve when hurry is reduced to ash. There are drawers inset into the basin's outer wall, 5 of them, their pulls small and smooth, their fronts engraved with simple titles. Today, this week, this month, this season, this year. In each drawer, a few slips of card await the point of your pencil. There is no magic in the drawers. They are a ritual of rhythm. When I write today and place one card beneath the thin fall, I am not placing a wish. I am placing an end. I am assuming a scene. Funds land easily before they are needed is not an aspiration. It is the description of the day. The drawer closes, and with it something in the solar plexus that mistakes vigilance for mastery. You cannot keep both open. Choose the drawer. Opposite these drawers is a simple, shallow shelf with a row of stones polished by real water in real streams. Each stone is etched with a sentence so faint you only see it when you are willing to soften your eyes. I pick up one that reads, "I do not chase. I allow." Another, "I do not plead. I assume." Another, "I do not prove. I consent." Carry one in your pocket, and notice how often the fingers reach for it in rooms that believe themselves important. The stone does not argue with those rooms. It changes the hand that would have argued. Changed hands sign different agreements. There is one more piece of furniture here, if we can call it furniture. A long, low bench whose boards have been rubbed smooth by the backs of men who have learned to lean. It faces the fountain at an angle that lets you see both the fall and the return. In the armrest, someone long ago carved 7 shallow notches. I have made a use of them. I never found written on any wall. For each notch, I press a finger and let a single sentence fall into the room like a note into a basin. Not forceful, not stage-worthy. True enough to warm the wood. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. My agreements are clean, and my yes is honored. Money enjoys my care and multiplies in my stewardship. I give without fear and receive without shame. I am wealthy now. I receive while I rest. The bench holds the echoes, as if it had been asked to remember. Perhaps it has. Perhaps every board and brick of this place remembers every sentence you dared to speak without trembling. Before we rise, notice what is not here. There is no scoreboard, no meter that announces adequacy or failure, no bell that shames lateness, no ledger that performs anxiety. There is practice, there is tone, there is the repetition of what is simple until it becomes instinct. If you come here often enough, you will discover the fountain inside your own ribs. You will not need to think of stone and water to remember that provision repeats. You will catch yourself saying cleared when the letter is still walking down the street toward your box. You will hear yourself pricing a thing with dignity before a man has asked what you charge. You will feel your hands open when they would have clenched, because once you clenched and the water stopped, and the stopping taught you more than the clenching ever did. I will tell you something. I have learned in rooms where numbers were called verdicts. Money responds to the one who respects himself, not the loud respect that boasts, the quiet respect that organizes. The fountain of provision is organization without cruelty. It does not scold you into neatness. It indulges you until neatness seems like kindness. You will not force yourself here. You will prefer yourself here, and that preference will follow you out into the day where checks are signed and hands are shaken, and doors swing on hinges that someone oiled because they loved the sound of good doors behaving like good doors. Take your cards. The ink is dry faster than you would expect because water likes to be believed. Slip cleared where it belongs. Return the stamp to its pedestal as one returns a favored tool to its hook. Without fuss. Pocket a stone if you wish. Choose a bowl to touch to the inside of your wrists. Ease for the meeting that has stirred old fear. Joy for the work that has begun to forget its holiness. Purpose for the task that is smaller than your soul but useful to your day. As we turn to go, the attendant inclines the head not as a servant to a lord, not as a god to a petitioner, but as a colleague to a colleague, equals doing the same work, keeping the stream clear. At the doorway, the lintel bears a small inscription I have not mentioned until now because I wanted you to hear it with your back warmed and your papers stamped. The water is not outside you. You will agree more easily than you would have an hour ago. You will nod without philosophy. You will carry the tone as a man carries a song under his breath. In streets that forgot music, the path from courtyard to world is short. The change it asks is shorter. A single step from I hope to I am. The world hurries to mirror whatever you show it. Let it hurry to mirror calm. Let it run to keep up with your dignity. Let it earn the right to be as simple as this fountain. And so we have stood where supply takes on a face. We have stamped what the day insisted upon doubt. We have placed needs in the fall and watched them emerge as harmless things, paper dried by the very air that once seemed to crackle with lack. Keep the 5 stools in your rooms. Keep the channels in your speech. Keep the drawers in your planning. Keep the clock that keeps the hour called enough. Keep the stamp in your chest. Keep the sentence that threads this space together. I receive while I rest. Say it as one names his own door to the dark, when he has returned late and the house is quiet and friendly. Say it as one names his own face in a mirror that has forgiven every grimace. Say it because you can. And because when you can, you must, for the sake of those who have not yet discovered that provision is not a visitor, but a resident that likes its rooms in order and its fountain running. Now rise. Put your hand on the warm stone as you go, the way a man touches the shoulder of a friend whose company has steadied him. Step back onto the path. It will carry you to the desk, the shop, the letterbox, the handshake, the kitchen table, the bed where night does its honored work. Wherever you go, the sound of falling and returning will follow. Like a kindly rumor, men will ask what has changed. You will say as little as necessary and mean every syllable. I assumed differently. If they ask for proof, smile as a man smiles who knows where his fountain is and knows that it never closes. Carry on, then stamped, supplied, serene. The law loves a man who has learned how to sit by his own water and call it his by right. There is a room I return to whenever a man asks how to see what he keeps insisting cannot be seen. It holds no windows, no clocks, no chairs. Its walls are plain stone, warm from a sun you cannot find, and in the center stands a single object upon a slender pedestal, a mirror framed in quiet gold. I call it the golden mirror of abundance. Not because it flatters, but because it reports. It does not show the face the world thinks you wear. It reveals the state you are willing to be. When I stand here, I do not check my features. I check my assumption. I do not ask what I look like. I ask who I am being. Approach without ceremony. The mirror is not a judge seated high upon a bench. It is a companion who tells the truth so gently that you are not tempted to resist it. Its surface holds a glow like evening on polished wood. At first glance, you will see the ordinary. Your figure, the line of your shoulder, the set of your mouth. Do not stop there. The first layer is for the world. The second is for you. And the second layer appears when you dare to ask of the glass the question I have asked 1,000 times, and answered each time with my life. Who am I now? When I ask this in the golden mirror, the surface alters, not with tricks, but with permissions. The light within the glass deepens. The outline of the face softens. Color rises or drains according to the sentence in my chest. If I have walked in carrying "I hope," the mirror grays with that thought's anemia. If I have walked in declaring "I am," the mirror warms with that sentence's blood. The glass has no preference of its own. It favors what I favor. It answers my being with identical measures and calls that equity. Along the lower rim of the frame are 5 small plates of engraved brass, each with a word that is a doorway to a deeper reflection. Identity, allowance, circulation, completion, stewardship. I have learned to touch them in turn, not as a right, but as a reminder that wealth is not a number. It is a stance that arranges numbers into obedience. Touch identity. The glass brightens. Your reflection unlearns the biography you have been rehearsing and stands in the biography you choose. I see myself as the one who has already inherited the thing I used to chase. There is no strain in the jaw, no bargain in the eyes, no audition in the shoulders. I am not wearing prosperity. I am prosperity wearing a man. The mirror answers this identity by ordering the details. The collar sits as though a skilled hand adjusted it. The skin around the eyes is clean of argument. The posture is an essay on sufficiency. I do not pretend. Pretending is a costume that tires the wearer. I assume. Assumption is skin. Touch allowance. The glass relaxes. My image stops guarding the door as if thieves had been promised. An invisible latch in the chest clicks, and my figure opens as if a window were unlatched behind the ribs. Allowance does not mean let everything happen. It means permit what is mine to arrive without obstruction. In the golden mirror, allowance shows as the absence of clenched forearms, the absence of a mouth rehearsing reasons. Money loves a face that has stopped pleading. I do not become careless. I become permeable to good. Touch circulation. The reflection takes on motion without moving. My pockets are not traps. They are way stations. Those who hoard look poor to this glass because stagnation dulls the color of a man's state. When I choose circulation, the mirror lays a sheen upon the skin, as if the blood had found a better path. My reflection wears the dignity of one who can let go without fear. That is wealth's favorite fashion. Touch completion. Watch how the eyes settle. Completion does not wait for an outer balance to be struck. It is a decision that writes paid in full upon the ledger before the postman has lifted his bag. The mirror reports completion as a softening at the edge of the shoulders, an easing at the corners of the mouth. I am no longer wired to the future. I permit the present to be sufficient evidence of what I have assumed. The world obeys a man who can look like this while the outer still finds its way. Touch stewardship. The image acquires the light of clean order, not severity, order. The quiet satisfaction of a desk cleared with affection. A tool returned to its hook, a note answered because dignity answers notes. Stewardship is the art of not resenting what you care for. In the golden mirror, The caretaker of abundance appears prosperous before a coin appears, because care is prosperity's scent. Money recognizes its home by that fragrance and stays. Above the mirror, stamped into the gold, where only those who look up will notice, runs a sentence that has changed the lives of any man who dared to let it pass the teeth. The outer world mirrors the inner assumption. I taught this law long before these words were framed here, and I teach it now because it makes beggars into builders and chasers into choosers. This mirror is not magic, it is manners. Show it I am, and it will teach the world to speak. You are. To the right of the pedestal stands a shelf with 7 objects. They are not talismans, they are instruments for the imagination. A ledger bound in linen the color of early milk, a seal cut from brass that reads approved, a key that fits any lock carved from the idea of not yet, a coin of light stamped with already provided, a letter whose envelope bears your name in a hand you trust, a contract with 3 lines left for your signature and none for your dread, a lamp whose wick seems to feed on decision rather than oil. I take the ledger and open it, not to total numbers, but to total states. On the page, I write the sentences the mirror asks me to embody until my bones remember. Funds land easily before they are needed. I prosper through peace, not pressure. Money enjoys my care. I receive while I rest. The letters darken on the page as if the paper were eager to carry them. When I sign beneath them, the ink dries with a neatness that tells the hand, the matter is in order. I lift the seal and press it to the first line of the contract. Approved. I do not stamp because I hope to influence a clerk. I stamp because I am the clerk of my own reality. The world goes where I file. Now hold the key. It is not heavy. It does not demand muscle. It demands acceptance. Try it against the small locks that hide themselves in the mind. The one that sits behind, I'll believe it when I see it. The one that rattles inside, I don't know if I can. The one that sits like a polite guest in perhaps one day. The key does not jimmy, it asks and is answered. Click. A man who has unlocked, not yet, is never kept waiting in the outer world for long. The coin of light is warm. It bears that old, honest inscription, already provided. Roll it through your fingers. Let it teach your hands the weight of the truth. Where I used to carry tokens of worry, memories of lean months kept like small stones in the pocket, I carry this coin. It changes the posture of the hand. A hand that knows already provided, does not clench, does not snatch, does not shake when it signs. It blesses the paper by touching it, and paper likes being blessed. I have seen that coin turn a conversation to my favor before a word was spoken, because my face had learned its temperature. Now open the letter. There is no address beyond your name. Inside, a single page, with a single line, written in that undemanding hand. We are pleased to confirm. No object, no figure, no clause. The confirmation is the object, the figure, the clause. When I read it, the mirror shows me as the man for whom confirmation is natural. That is all the outer world needs to know in order to catch up. Where men demand details to feel safe, I demand state and watch the details volunteer. The lamp waits for last. Its flame springs to life the instant I say the simplest possible sentence with conviction. I am wealthy now. Some seek poetry to move this lamp. Poetry is lovely. Truth is faster. When I say it as the one who is allowed to say it, the light steadies. When I say it as the one who begs to say it, the light flickers. The mirror does not punish the flicker. It reports it. If it flickers, return to identity and assume again without commentary, without apology, without the drama of self-reproach. Assumption is a room you can re-enter as often as you like. Only pride stands shivering outside. On the floor around the pedestal, inlaid into the stone, runs a simple path of brass that winds once around the room and returns to the base of the mirror. Set into the path at intervals are plaques with ordinary words that have been healed of their anxiety. rent, tuition, supplies, wages, gifts, savings, travel, home, taxes, play. I walk this path slowly, pausing at each plaque as though it were a friend's gate. At every stop, I look up into the glass and let it show me as the man for whom this word is a harmless thing. I am not preparing outcomes. I am preparing myself. Outcomes follow prepared men, as dogs follow boys who know how to be kind. At the turn of the path stands a cabinet with 3 shallow drawers. This week, this month, this season. Inside each drawer are simple cards. I write on one paid in full and tuck it under, this week. On another, funds land before need and place it under, this month. On another, generosity replenishes me, and slide it into, this season. I close the drawers without flourish. In this room there is no performance, only arrangement. The mirror sees the arrangement and reflects a face that walks into days already decided. Now attend to the most delicate work the golden mirror permits. Along the inner edge of the frame are 20 small notches. Each notch is a scene, waiting. The mirror knows the difference between scenes and slogans. Slogans are earnest and thin. Scenes are heavy with life. I touch the first notch and allow a scene to appear, not on the glass, but just behind it, the way the soul stands just behind the body. There I am at a table, an open letter before me. The words, "Received with thanks," in a neat hand. I do not hover above the letter. I sit at the table. My hand lifts the page. The chair creaks the way it always does. I lay the paper down and reach for the ledger without hurry. I am not performing wealth. I am behaving like myself. It is done. Second notch. Footsteps in a corridor. That familiar cadence of someone bringing envelopes along the hall. The knock that belongs to good news. I go to the door because I am the sort of man who opens when good knocks. I do not pretend to be surprised. Surprise in this room is a kind of discourtesy, as if the law owed you spectacle. I accept, and acceptance looks like ease. Third notch. A desk at which I am not working late to prove. I am attending to a letter because it deserves a timely reply, and so do I. The figure in the mirror wears the quiet clothing of a steward who has forgiven himself for being capable. Capable men do not apologize for simplicity. They enjoy it. The pen is pleasant in the hand. The date is ordinary on the page. The sentence, "Please find the enclosed," is not an incantation. It is a description of paper inside an envelope that will go where it must, because I have put it there and called it blessed. Fourth notch, a market. I buy what I want without bargaining with my worth. A price is a label, not a tribunal. A label says, "This is what it costs." A tribunal says, "This is what you are allowed." I do not submit to tribunals in small stalls. I read labels and choose. The mirror shows a man whose choosing is clean. Fifth notch, a friend across a table. I tip the waiter because I enjoy increasing the world by a simple act. I hand a note to the friend across that table because he needs it, and I can. The mirror warms. When men give without the arithmetic that poisons the act. Nothing disfigures a face like generosity that wants to be noticed. The golden mirror blesses the kind that leaves no fingerprint. And so notch by notch, scene by scene, I populate the space behind the glass, not with fantasies, but with recognitions. Each scene is a small world whose physics match the sentence, "I am wealthy now." Each world sends its evidence forward into days that did not know they were invited to improve. The mirror contains them all, not because it is large, but because state is large. On the pedestal, a small brass plate bears 3 short lines that many miss in their first excitement. This mirror will not flatter a lie. This mirror will not humiliate a truth. This mirror will magnify what you consent to be. If you stand here and say, "One day I will be wealthy," the mirror will show you a traveler, and travelers are always away from home. If you stand here and say, "I hope to be provided for," the mirror will show you a petitioner, and petitioners live in the ante-room. If you stand here and say, "I am," the mirror will show you a resident, and residents hold keys. You ask, "Perhaps how to carry this glass into a day thick with men who do not believe. You do not carry the glass. You carry the posture it taught you. There is a subtle difference between a man who has money and a man for whom money is natural. The first exhibits his means because he is still convincing himself. The second forgets to exhibit and remembers to be. The golden mirror trains the second. A final feature. Beneath the pedestal, set flush with the floor, is a small round door. It opens to a single dial. You may set with one finger. The dial is labeled with only two positions: chase and choose. Most who find it laugh because they think it a joke. It is not. When the dial points to chase, the mirror throws a faint distortion over the face, hard to name at first, unmistakable in time. The eyes lean forward, the mouth prepares a case, the shoulders tilt as if to run. When the dial points to choose, the distortion vanishes. The eyes look out level and calm. The mouth knows how to say yes and how to say no without rehearsals. The shoulders square as if a weight had remembered its own feet. I set the dial to choose and leave it there. The world respects a chooser and arranges itself accordingly. Before we step away, take what this room gives most freely: an ending. So few permit themselves endings that the world must keep returning them to beginnings. Let the mirror write across your next hour the word done. Done in spirit, therefore done in form. Done enough to stop speaking about it. Done enough to plan from it. Done enough to give from it. Done enough to rest as it. You do not become careless. You become finished. Finished men create with a touch. Unfinished men destroy by accident. I stand a last time. Place the coin of light in my pocket. Close the ledger. Lay the seal on its cloth. And look into the glass with the simplest sentence I know. Simple enough to travel in a coat. Strong enough to build a life. I am wealthy now. The mirror agrees. It does not applaud. It does not weep. It tells the truth. The truth is restful. We turn to go. The door out of this room is plain. It swings on well-oiled hinges, because someone who understands stewardship cared for them before you arrived. As you pass the threshold, a change that needs no trumpet occurs. You forget to check for signs. You do not scan the street for omens. You do not test the day to see if it has learned its lesson. You move through the world as one who has already looked into the golden mirror and recognized himself. The world looks back and recognizes you in return. Carry this with you when men speak of luck. They often mean the moment their mirrors finally matched their mouths. Do not wait for that accident. Align your mouth with your mirror and call it law. The law is faithful. It is as simple as a face that has stopped bargaining and begun to belong. And now the golden mirror of abundance has done its work. It has shown you what you are willing to be. It has let you practice scenes until they became origins. It has trained your spine in the shape of I am. Walk on with that shape. It is finer than any suit, louder than any announcement, more persuasive than any argument. It will introduce you before you speak and negotiate for you while you sleep. It will open envelopes and doors. It will choose and be chosen. It will turn numbers into servants and rooms into allies. Wherever you go next, desk or threshold or bedside, remember the one rule etched faintly into the inner rim, where only owners notice it. You are the glass. There is a chamber in imagination that I visit whenever I wish to feel the truth of surplus, not mere sufficiency, not enough to scrape by, but the elegant more of a life that knows it is loved by its source. I call it the vault of overflowing blessings. I do not go there to ask. I go there to remember. For in my work I learned long ago that the world is a mirror, and the mirror returns only what I am assuming. When I assume abundance as my most natural climate, the mirror, obedient and uncreative, throws it back upon me as events, as checks, as introductions and timely permissions. The vault is reached by a stair that curves inward, as if the house of my being grew this passage for me on the very day I chose the name, I am wealthy now. The steps are broad and kind to the feet. The walls are ashlar, stone blocks set without mortar, so precisely cut that they kiss one another and hold by consent. I admire that. True wealth is like that. Pieces meeting so perfectly. There is no filler, no panic, no wedge. At the base of the stair, a door awaits, heavy and beautifully made. It does not threaten. It does not boast. It only knows what it keeps and who I am. The handle is warm, as if the vault were a creature with a pulse, and the metal remembers my hand from other visits. I turn the handle. The tumblers answer with a low, satisfied click, the sound of law consenting to a rightful heir, and the door swings open on hidden hinges that have never once complained. The air within is cool and fragrant with cedar, linen, and a clean metallic brightness like the inside of a well-kept instrument. Light rises from the floor itself, a quiet radiance that makes edges tender and surfaces honest. It is easy to see. It is easy to choose. The vault ceiling is a shallow dome ribbed with bronze bands, and in each band words are engraved in a script that seems to have grown out of the metal. Already provided. Peaceful increase. Grace before effort. Circulation is life. Creation is finished. Along the walls stand alcoves, and in every alcove rests a vessel. Some are chests with rounded lids and brass corners. Some are amphorae banded with gold leaf. Some are simple wooden crates impeccably planed and waxed, bearing only a mark at one end. My mark, a small open hand above a gentle wave. There is beauty here, yes, but never waste. The form serves the function, to hold blessings until I am ready to let them flow. In the first alcove, the chest is labeled Provision for the Foreseen. The lid lifts as lightly as a good thought. Inside, orderly packets tied with twine, each stamped with a single phrase, tuition. Concluded, rent at ease, tools acquired, journey arranged, repair completed, doctor paid, gratitude returned. I take up tools acquired, and feel the weight of right instruments settling into my future hands. I do not count the parcels. I do not sort by size. I allow the sensation of everything already handled to take its rightful chair behind my breastbone. That sensation is the signature. When it is written in me, life copies it out for me. In the next alcove, a wide, shallow bowl of hammered silver constantly receives a fall of bright tokens from an unseen source above. I watch as they accumulate, and then, at some sweet point before clutter, a channel at the rim carries the excess outward along a narrow runnel into places I cannot see. A small brass plate reads, overflow. By design. There is no anxiety in the mechanism. The bowl does not hoard. The channel does not drain. The bowl is always full. The runnel is always moving. I stand before it, and let its lesson become my posture. I fill and I flow. I flow and I fill. A man who consents to be part of the river need never fear the empty cup. Farther on, a set of amphorae, marked glad rewards for honest work. Ribbon seals around their necks glow with a mild inner light. I touch one and a label reveals itself in small gold letters. Payment arrived, ahead of custom. I touch another. Client returned with friends. Another royalty renewed. No effort required. None of these are flukes. They are the ordinary manners of a world, reflecting an inner law. I remind myself, as I have reminded thousands, that the subconscious accepts the assumption impressed upon it and builds outward as a tree builds from its seed. If the seed is I prosper through peace, growth takes on the character of peace. If the seed is I am already supplied, arrival prefers the corridor called early. Across the floor, a long counter of oak holds an instrument I love. It is a press, 2 plates and a lever, made not for paper, but for outcomes. Beside it lies a tray of blank, round medallions of soft, luminous metal. A small drawer contains dies, cleared, approved, concluded, delivered, released, credited, settled, recorded, fulfilled, in my favor. When I have allowed some old story to surface, some seed of not yet or not enough, I bring that story here, not to rehearse it, but to cast it afresh in the metal of truth. I place a medallion on the bed of the press, choose fulfilled, and lower the lever. There is a gentle pressure, never a struggle, and when I lift the plate, the word stands raised and undeniable. I pocket the token not as a charm, but as a reminder of the state that minted it. Later, an email, a letter, a handshake will echo the raised letters. The token merely rehearsed the scene. To the left of the press stands a cabinet with many narrow drawers. Each bears a label of something men once learned to dread. Statements, notices, invoices, contracts, applications, balances. I smile because the cabinet does not ask me to dread anything. I open statements, and instead of a tangle of figures, I find neat folders stamped with phrases that the nervous system reads faster than the eyes. Increase, registered, fees waived. Interest credited, balance in your favor. In contracts, the pages are short and lucid. The terms are fair and square. Margins are wide, as if the paper itself believed in breathing room. In applications, I find the most disarming stamp, pre-accepted. Those who have studied with me know the meaning at once. I am the application, and I pre-accept myself. The outer office will learn what the inner office has already filed. The vault contains as well a corner devoted to the health of circulation. There stands a tall glass column, clear as truth, with a line etched around it at a comfortable height. The line labeled Steady Plenty. The column is fed by two small pipes, one inlet, one outlet, each with a valve. On the inlet arm, a brass tag reads, Receiving with ease. On the outlet arm, Giving with joy. The valves are open the same degree. The liquid within the column maintains its level without fuss, sometimes trembles upward with happy surprise, never drops in panic. If ever my mind is tempted to clamp one valve or the other, to take in while refusing to give, or to give while refusing to receive, I come here and restore the symmetry. I place my fingertips upon each valve and align them again. The column answers at once. The level returns to steady plenty and holds. You might say, but what of the unexpected? Look to the niche opposite the column. There a plaque is mounted. The unexpected is a form of expected good. Beneath it sits a tray of envelopes, whose seals are shaped like little stars. Each envelope bears only two words. Of course, I open one and find a scenario that in years past I would have called a coincidence, a letter misplaced and then found at the precise week it could bless me most. A meeting delayed to the hour when the right person happened to be present. A payment routed through what seemed a complicated path, but arrived with an extra courtesy attached. The envelope does not explain the mechanics. Why should it? The law handles logistics. I am the law's beloved, not its engineer. In the deep of the vault, a pair of doors stands closed, each carved with vines and grain, each with a small arch above. The arch on the left reads, Inheritance. The arch on the right reads, Surplus. I enter inheritance. First, the room is sun-blonde, though no window is visible. A long table bears documents heavier than paper, lighter than wood, pages of authority that are more like decisions than text. I pick one up. At the top, access by identity. Beneath, a single line. Granted to the one who answers to I am as wealth. I sign not my family name, not my profession, but the state itself, for that is the only signature this room recognizes. The page warms under my hand and then becomes part of the table, absorbed as if the surface had been waiting all along to receive it. At the far end, another page waits. Usage without penalty. This is not license for foolishness. It is permission to live without the primitive superstition that good must be paid for with fear. Then surplus. This room is quieter and deeper in tone. Shelves hold boxes with small circular windows in their lids. Through each window I see a steady brightness that is not static. It breathes. One box is labeled time to spare. Another more than enough hands. Another ideas in excess of necessity. Another margin where needed most. I do not gorge myself. I take precisely what fits the hour and tuck it into the pockets of my day, and surplus answers as surplus always does, by multiplying the moment I consent to spend it. In this way, I never fatten anxiety, and I never starve generosity. Back in the main hall, a low dais supports something like an altar, though nothing in it asks for worship. It simply holds a bowl of river stones etched with phrases that behave like keys when spoken from the heart. I select several and lay them upright so I can read them as a row, the way a captain reads flags at the mast. Already counted, handled, no resistance. Paid in full, earlier than necessary, better than planned, simpler than imagined. I do not chant them. I let them sit in the room of my mind until my shoulders answer with that small, unmistakable lengthening a man feels when he stops carrying what the ground is willing to hold. Near the dais, a workbench gleams with oiled wood. On it a map is spread, not of countries and roads, but of relationships and channels. Lines connect my work to those who are blessed by it. Lines connect their blessings back to me in ways that are just and beautiful. Lines connect me outward to those I will bless next. Small brass tokens rest on the intersections, each stamped yes. I nudge one slightly with my finger, and another moves far away, as if the map were a loom and threads had tightened across it. The vault is telling me, in its gentle, practical way, that my wealth is woven, never isolated, never hoarded, never brittle. When one square of the cloth is drawn into shape, other squares take their place, and the pattern grows more coherent. A narrow passage, almost hidden, opens to a chamber of proofs. The sign above is modest. Receipts. This room is not vain. It is orderly. On shelves are boxes labeled by sensation rather than subject. Relief, quiet satisfaction, rightness, clean completion, pleasant surprise, dignity. Inside each box are slips of parchment, miniature facsimiles of moments. I once lived, the letter that said approved, the visit that concluded with no balance due, the handshake that raised my price without my asking, the invitation that spared me the chore of introducing myself, the gift that carried no hook. I leaf through a few, not to linger in yesterday, but to steep the present in the taste of inevitable good. The subconscious loves familiarity. I give it familiar flavor, again and again, until it serves me more of the same with effortless competence. On the way out, I stop at a counter titled Dispatch of Overflow. Here I choose where the surplus shall go, that is not mine to keep. A dial allows me to select a field. Family, friends, strangers in need, craftsmen and vendors, quiet causes, artists who feed the soul. I set the dial to quiet causes and press a small lever marked send. A soft bell rings. Somewhere beyond my sight, the channel opens and someone feels a relief, for which there will be no headline and no trumpet. I do not trace it. I do not narrate it. I trust the vault's genius for distribution. This is how I remain the river. I allow the law to move through me as gladly as it moves toward me. I do not gum the current with stories of sacrifice. I call it by its polite, accurate name, circulation, and I keep the valves even. Before I close the door, I look once more across the dome and read the bands of bronze. Already provided. Peaceful increase. Grace before effort. Circulation is life. Creation is finished. These are not decorations. They are operating instructions written in the architecture. The man who obeys them finds his days, acquiring a specific tone. Events arrange themselves as if they had been told the plan last week. People speak sentences that sound like the echo of assumptions I adopted in my quiet hours. Amounts align so precisely that the old appetite for drama grows embarrassed and leaves by a side door. I step out, and the vault seals itself with the content little click of a lock that trusts its keeper. The stair bears me upward. My pockets are not heavy. My gait is not the heaviness of burden. Never that. The heaviness of a coat that fits, of a ledger balanced, of a name that means what it says. Now hold this with me. The vault of overflowing blessings is not an image I visit to be entertained. It is the inner order of my affairs. When I speak from it, the world hears my tone, not my words. When I purchase, I do so from it. When I quote my price, I do so from it. When I give from it. When I receive, I allow it to prove itself again. Should worry knock? I do not debate on the threshold. I take worry by the hand and say, "Come and see." I walk it down the familiar stair, open the door that knows my palm, and let it stand before the bowl that fills and flows. Worry, who understands only hoarding and starvation, cannot survive the sight. It dissolves into usefulness, and usefulness becomes another vessel on the wall, labeled energy return to right work. If you require a sentence to carry out of this room and into your day, take mine. I live at overflow, and overflow lives through me. Speak it like a man who is putting his name to a document in the presence of a notary, who has watched such signatures all his life and never once doubted one. Speak it once, and then act in harmony with it. Choose the simpler path that fits such a statement. Decline the bargain that insults it. Accept the invitation that agrees with it. Set the valves to even, and let the column hold at steady plenty. This is the vault of overflowing blessings. It is part of your house. It prefers your visits. It will never scold you for forgetting. It will simply keep its bright order until you remember again, and take your place at the press, at the bowl, at the map, at dispatch. In such a life, increase stops being a surprise and becomes a custom. Custom, repeated, becomes culture. And a culture of overflow, held quietly within a single soul, teaches the entire house how to prosper with dignity and grace. There is a principle I taught again and again. When you assume the end, life unfolds a bridge of incidents, quiet, precise steps, carrying you from where you appear to stand, to where you have already arrived in imagination. Tonight I take you to that bridge, not as a tourist gawking at timbers and trusses, but as the rightful traveler whose feet have business on its boards. This is the bridge of effortless fortune. It was not built by striving hands. It was laid by your assumption. It exists because you have accepted yourself as the one who is already supplied. I approach it through the plain streets of a city that has done me no harm, with its ordinary windows and its practical doors, its shopkeepers sweeping thresholds, its clerks tallying figures with the pen's soft scratch. All is well in this city. But tonight, everything ordinary seems to lean a few quiet degrees toward my passage, as if the world were tilting toward a harvest it can sense but cannot see. That tilt is my state acting upon neutral facts. The world is not commanding me, it is answering me. Ahead, spanning a slow, obedient river, the bridge rises in a perfect arc. It is stone at the piers and light along the span, as though the heavy work had been entrusted to bedrock and the graceful work to air. A small plaque is set into the first post. No date, no donor, only 6 words, from end to end by end. I smile. Whoever carved it knew my heart. One does not cross this bridge by analyzing the boards. One crosses by standing in the finished scene and allowing the boards to appear underfoot. I place my palm on the warm post. The stone holds sunlight from earlier in the day and lends it to me without fuss. My hand knows this texture. It is the feel of certainty that doesn't need to clench. I step onto the bridge. The first board yields a fraction, not in weakness but in welcome, the way a good floor answers a dancer. I do not look for gaps. I allow each step to disclose the next. The river below is honest and slow, carrying barges with quiet cargo, turning under the arches with the obedient strength of something that knows its path. Fortune is like this river when I accept it rightly. No frenzy, no splash, no drama, only sure movement. The bridge is not a shortcut. It is the path that becomes visible when the end is chosen. As I walk, scenes arrange themselves along the railings like tableaus in a gallery. I do not force them. They present themselves, and I regard them calmly. On my left, an office where a letter is being stamped with approval. A clerk is relieved to send it. A supervisor is pleased to sign it. Neither knows they are actors in a play produced by my inner decision. On my right, a shopkeeper glances up at the bell and smiles, because the exact item I require has arrived 1 hour earlier than expected. Farther along, a telegraph is clicked with a brief, unromantic message ending in the word cleared and another in the word credited. I do not hover over these moments like a beggar peering through glass. I nod to them as a landlord nods to his own ledgers. These are my accounts in order. Halfway across, a modest pavilion stands upon a widening of the deck. It is made of the same stone as the piers, with benches worn to a clean satin by generations of restful backs. Above the benches, brass plaques hold sentences I have carried for years. What you assume you are, that you are. Be it, and the world cannot help but show it. Creation is finished. Choose your portion. I do not linger to worship words. I sit because the bridge prefers that I rest as I cross. The bridge does not demand a march. From the pavilion's window I can see both banks, the bank of the old state and the bank of the new. The old is not wicked. It is simply complete. I have taken from it what useful lessons it had to give, and now I give it my blessing. The new is not a miracle. It is simply the outside of what I have already become inside. Between them the river keeps its patient oath. The bridge keeps its shape. I keep my seat a moment longer and let the body learn the hush of sufficiency. For sufficiency is the only proper music for fortune's approach. Then I rise, and as I stand, I notice something the untrained eye would miss. Each board is engraved with a quiet name: invitation, introducer, invoice settled, price stated with ease, yes given, door held, kind delay, prompt arrival, refund without request, favor without debt. They are not wishes, they are the catalogue of how endings express themselves. I step upon invitation, and as my weight settles, a memory of the future becomes plain. A friend mentions a man by name, and I hear myself say, yes, introduce us. The friend has been waiting for this exact request, though he did not know it. He writes at once. A few boards later becomes a handshake that has all the dignity of agreements that do not require persuasion. I step upon invoice settled, and the next image is domestic. The envelope lies in the safe basket. The stamp at the corner is neat, the numbers align in calm columns, and my hand finds a fountain pen because ballpoint is too hurried for gratitude. The pen writes paid in full, with a slow, honest line that looks like it belongs there because it does. On price stated with ease, I see an offer cross the desk. My number sits in the sentence as naturally as a proper name. No tremor at the wrist, no swallow in the throat, no internal committee convened to discuss whether I am allowed. The other party reads and says the sentence that belongs to that state. Yes, that is fair. This is not flattery. It is the echo of my own assumption returning to me with shoes on. The bridge rises to its crown. From this slight height, I can see far along the road that leads away from the new bank. There are milestones posted at intervals: week of quiet plenty, month of natural increase, quarter of surplus, year of dignified margin. Between them I notice the ordinary interruptions that once frightened me: a train missed that causes an appointment to land at the hour when the decision-maker is unhurried, a parcel delayed that arrives in time to intercept a less elegant purchase, a meeting rescheduled that produces a better seat at the table altogether. The interruptions are not arrows shot from chaos. They are the bridge adjusting its planks to the gate of my assumption. I come to a second pavilion, smaller, with a single desk and a single ledger, open beneath a paperweight shaped like a seashell. I read the ledger because it is written in a language I have insisted upon for many years. In the left-hand column, the word received appears, followed by entries that look like simple lines from a household book. Credit noted, fee reversed, commission added, royalty renewed, balance corrected in your favor. In the right-hand column, the word given appears, and here the entries are not costs but currents. Gift dispatched quietly, Bill paid promptly to the craftsman, generosity extended without commentary, debt forgiven without audience. Between the columns, a slim column labeled circulated shows arrows, not figures. The arrows do not point away from me, they pass through me and keep going. And as they keep going, the left-hand column stays inevitable. I close the book with a small inward bow to the law that makes such ledgers possible. You keep moving what moves through you, and what moves through you keeps returning with company. Below the pavilion, at water level, there is an arch where a little stair descends for those who are fond of inspecting pillars. I take the stair because this bridge likes visitors who know what holds them. The pillar is massive, yes, but the water does not gnash its teeth at stone. It parts, embraces, and passes on. Effortless fortune is not fortune wrestled from the world. It is fortune recognized as the world's normal reply to your assumption. I trace the lines chiseled into the base, tool marks from the day the masons finished their work, and I read the inscription cut low, where only those who look truly will bother to look. Assumption is the foundation, gratitude is the span, action is the footfall, incident is the railing, end is the other shore. That is a whole school in one line. Back on the deck, a lamplighter moves along the rail at the pace of evening. He touches each glass shade with his pole, and the lamps answer with a clear flame that is never showy, always sufficient. The light reveals small tokens fixed to the balusters, little seals of authority, with phrases that settle the stomach by merely being seen. Right on time, handled without fuss, better terms, early closure, refunded and blessed, introduced and welcomed. I do not collect them. I allow them to collect me, which is to say, I let their state become mine. The lamplighter tips his cap. He knows me. Bridges know those who cross them awake. As the far bank draws near, the bridge offers one last gift. There is a brass button set into the rail, polished by many hands, labeled simply consent. I place my palm upon it. It is warm in the way all true mechanisms of the law are warm, animated by a principle that needs no praise. Under my hand, I feel the faintest click, like a tiny lock sprung inside the chest, and a sentence writes itself through me with the steady penmanship of a clerk who has done this work his whole life. I consent to the manner of my good as readily as I consent to the fact of it. The bridge, satisfied, hums for a heartbeat and then goes on being a bridge. Now I step onto the new bank and note the difference one always notes when the inner shift has properly finished. Nothing is louder, but everything is simpler. Streets are the same width, but time is wider. Prices are the same numerals, but their meaning has changed. Work is the same substance, but its texture is softer, the way a jacket feels when it finally fits across the shoulders. I enter a room where a conversation has been arranged without my exhausting the art of persuasion. I sit in a chair that has been held for me by a hand that enjoys holding such chairs. I read a page that says exactly what it ought, and I find myself smiling at the ordinary beauty of completion. Someone asks for my figure, and I give it. Someone inquires about my terms, and I name them. Someone wonders if I can begin next week, and I say a line I trained my life to deserve. Yes, that is agreeable. Later, the post brings a letter whose envelope I recognize the way a sailor recognizes the tune of his own harbor bell. The letter does not astonish me. It answers me. It contains the numbers that belong to the state I have decided to be, and they sit on the page with the posture of men who have come home from a long campaign and hung their uniforms without ceremony, knowing the house knows them. I walk along the quay below the bridge and watch barges make their deliberate turns. On each is painted a modest name: retainer, royalty, referral, refund, rebate, repricing in your favor, release of funds, quiet gift. The river does not discriminate among them. It carries them with equal courtesy. On the bank, humble cranes lift crates, gilded by evening, and set them down without banging. Men sign ledgers and laugh in the pauses while ink dries. No one shouts. This is what fortune looks like when it is effortless, Not a blaze, not a parade, but 1,000 competent motions that behave as though they have been told the end and have rehearsed accordingly. I turn and look back at the arc. From this angle, the bridge is a sentence I have read all my life and only now understand. From end to end by end. How many times did I, as a younger man, try to build the planks with my hands? How many times did I argue with the river, or petition the lamplighter, or command the barges? It is not necessary. The only labor required is the wise discipline of the inner scene. When I have accepted that I am already the one for whom wealth is natural, the bridge appears reliably. It tolerates no panic. It rejects no calm. It simply offers itself and bears me. And while it bears me, the world cannot help but produce the exact sequence that a spectator might call chance. If you need tokens to carry away from this crossing, take mine. I am at the end now. I let the bridge reveal itself underfoot. I bless the incidents without trying to arrange them. I name my price as the man who already belongs. I allow agreements that feel like a well-made chair. I close with calm. I circulate with joy. These are not slogans to be paraded. They are settings upon the instrument panel of imagination. Once set, they do their silent work. There is one more alcove tucked beneath the final arch. It holds a model of the bridge carved in miniature. Every board, every lamp, every plaque. A small drawer in its base contains slips of paper no larger than stamps. On each is printed a single outcome, an accident of blessing. I take 3 without looking and turn them over. Introduced while speaking kindly of another. Paid early because someone felt like it. Given the better seat because the chair that was meant to creak did not. I place them back. I am not hoarding evidence. I am acknowledging the style of my life. I walk on into the street of the new bank. A porter tips his cap and opens a door a moment before I reach for it, as though doors have learned to anticipate my hand. The hall beyond smells faintly of lemon and wool. The clerk at the desk looks up with the look I insist upon, the look that says, "We have been expecting you, and it will be a pleasure to see this settled." He asks my name, and I give him the only one the bridge respects, the name of my state. He writes it without question, because the world is very obedient when you are very sure. I sit, and while we speak the particulars, I let the image of the bridge remain behind my eyes, not as ornament, but as operating fact. When a small snag appears, an absent form, a misfiled note, it untangles itself within the minute, the way a ribbon shakes free, when the knot was never tied to hold. When a question arises about terms, the number I carried across the span sits down in the room, and the room accepts it. When we finish, the papers have the modest fragrance new pages sometimes have, and the pen is warm from honest use. The clerk stands not to escort me out, but as a man stands for another whose arrival has proved the rule, not the exception. Outside, a bell marks the hour with a tone that does not scold. I look back once more and see, superimposed upon the bridge in that playful way, imagination loves, the outline of a second bridge and a third, paths to other fulfilled ends already present, waiting to be walked because I have dared to arrive before I set out. There is no hurry. Bridges are patient structures. They do not unravel because I took a day for tea. They wait as the law waits for consent. So if you will join me in the simplest manner, take this stance with me now, not as a posture for a minute, but as the gentle law of your hour. I stand at my fulfilled end. I let the incidents be simple. I let people behave like friends to my assumption. I cross without strain, and I arrive without surprise. I am the one for whom fortune prefers to make things easy. Speak it once as if stamping a clear word into soft metal. Then live as one whose lamplighter has gone ahead, whose ledger already balances, whose river does not forget its tide, whose bridge does not need to be convinced to hold. And when tomorrow's ordinary street leans again a few degrees toward you, do not ignore the courtesy. Step onto the board labeled invitation. Let it meet introducer. Allow yes to sit in the sentence. Sign where your hand belongs. Place your palm to consent, and while you walk, do not examine the boards for defects. Look once toward the other shore, the end that is yours, and let the bridge keep its clean, ancient promise from end to end by end.